is loud. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Chalkcast number 12. Did you guys hear that by chance? You did hear that, so you guys are getting deafened as well. I don't know what that was. I think it's a weird thing with OBS Ninja, but my bad. That's why it's called a Chalkcast. Today, we have very special guests. We're going to be talking about all the roster rumors that have been going on in the Rocket League community. We have, where's everybody? We got top left, we got CJCJ. Top right is Johnnyboi himself. Bottom left is Hoodyhooo. And bottom right is Yummy Cheeseman, which I barely fit his Twitter @ in there. You can see it's basically 3 pixels. But it's there. Oh my. It's there at the end of the day.
You used extra room for Hoodyhooo, and I just have to try and fit it.
Hoodyhooo just like goes past the border.
I'll try my best to fix it. It's just so large. There it is. Long That's nice. That's the best we get. That's the best you get from me. You can say I tried. Boys, gentlemen, do we want to start with NA? Is that the plan?
Yeah, let's just get it over with.
Let's just get
NA.
Okay, buddy.
We were gonna do a show last week, and we were like, I don't think there's enough content. There's not enough roster rumors yet. And then within the space of about the next 3 days, we were like, okay, yep, I think it's time to do a stream.
Now, we were smart to wait, though, because we were going to do this last week, but there just weren't enough things out yet. So
exactly.
Now there's loads to talk about, so here we are, roster rumor episode. NA's been pretty quiet, though. NA's got to step it up. There's nowhere near enough rumors and leaks and everything in between from NA.
What are they doing? It's a snooze fest over here.
They're not announcing rosters yet. There's just silence.
Credit to them, actually.
They've still got the number 1 talked about story, though, of course. That, of course, being Rlcs. And we were actually just talking about, before we went live, Rlcs' YouTube channel and how well he's done both on Twitch and YouTube to capitalize on him being the most clickbait thing in the Rocket League community. So first of all, congrats to Rlcs on knowing what to do in that situation. He's on the grind. But the official Rlcs position is that he's off Space Station Gaming. And he's talked about that a bunch. Arsenal's made a post or made a video about it, right? On Twitter.
Space Station themselves just tweeted it 6 hours ago.
Yeah, they've tweeted like it's out, it's official. And then there's rumors that his replacement is LJ, but that's not confirmed yet. That's where it's all at. But Hoodie, have you been following the whole Rlcs saga?
Yeah. I think the thing that made it explode was just the whole like Worlds whispers, right? Like he found out so early, you know what I mean? And everybody, in my opinion, kind of, I don't know. I feel like they kind of blew that up into something that it really, it wasn't that big of a deal. But I guess in the Rocket League space, we don't get a whole lot of juicy drama. So I guess people are, they're trying to make it something that it wasn't. But
so you mean that the fact he found out at Worlds, you're referring to
Yeah.
I think he said so himself, or I can't remember at this point where it all came from, but yeah, it became public knowledge that he'd found out on like the Saturday,
right?
Like after they were eliminated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it was
that's
just
a big
like
deal, though.
Yeah, exactly. It was met with such crazy backlash that like you said, Arsenal kind of had to tweet out a video of like, walking everybody through what happened, which, like I said, I just feel like it was. I mean, sure, it wasn't ideal. It's not the greatest way to handle things, but it was just, I don't know. I just don't feel like it was that big of a deal. People went
crazy. It's the same as anybody else getting kicked, right?
That's what I always said.
I do think that it lent in that the fact that when people heard that it was at Worlds, they assumed it was in the middle of the tournament on Thursday, and that would have actually been a big issue. But it was after they lost, at least.
Yeah.
What is that a popular opinion though? Well, I think you're right. Initially, everybody was like up in arms about it. They're like, how could they do this right after Worlds? What are they thinking? How could he find out at Worlds from a different player? How could they not have the respect to tell him? Initially, that seemed like a pretty common reaction, but are we all like in the agreement that it's not that bad that he found out at Worlds, or is that a point of contention?
Oh, I think you definitely want to be earlier rather than later is always better. I don't know about immediately, because you think that once when you've lost, when you got knocked out of a big tournament, everything's pretty fresh. You're always going to be like, my team sucks, my team's the worst, I want to leave. So to actually like make something happen, particularly with those guys, because they had such an unfortunate you know, sequence of events in that tournament with how Arsenal was and stuff like that. It feels pretty hard to make a decision based on, I guess, their performance and scrims and stuff like that, given that Arsenal was a bit of a non-factor until, you know, maybe 1 or 2 series because of his illness. So I think the whole thing still, even though they did tell him after they got knocked out, it still seemed a bit strange that they were so quick to be like, nah, like, we're done. This team isn't going to work.
Well, I think that was decided before the event actually started. So.
Oh, really? Is
So,
that
so,
what
maybe, so maybe that's like a big thing where people are assuming that, like, since they're doing it so quickly after, that maybe it was just already decided anyway or something like that.
Premeditated.
Yeah, I mean, it seems reasonable to expect that. It was similar with Scrub Killer and Vitality in RLCS Season 8. He was kicked pre to land, essentially. Like, they were ready to drop him and turn into their French super team. And they still managed to perform, but usually I would say when you have issues like that, when you want to drop somebody, you're much more likely to tilt, and apparently we did see that from Arsenal based on comms videos, but
it is interesting though, because it's like the opposite of what is normally the problem, where they don't tell the person early enough, right? They hold out on it and don't say anything, and then that person's left with so little time to find a team and figure out what's going on. But now it's the opposite, where, like, I guess we told him too early, or it slipped out or whatever. So
there's
got to find the perfect time to kick that.
Yeah, I think there's just, like, there's no right way to do it. I think especially if there is a fan base for a team, people are always going to be upset. People, like, I mean, I've like gone into some of these people's chats, and like people are just hating for, like, I mean, for like a reason that basically I'm assuming they just like made up, like calling players snakes and like all that stuff. It's just like, it's like, bro, how do you expect somebody to improve themselves if they're not like willing to make a change in like this big business thing, you know, multi-million-dollar big ordeal, you know? It's just like people don't understand that like roster changes they happen, they're natural, and without them there's no progression.
Was it confirmed though before the tournament? Was that said in a video? Because I know that they had team issues going in, but it wasn't like the scrub situation where, like, you know, there's rumors of LJ on Space Station joining. It's not. I feel like they weren't going, yeah, we're going to pick up LJ after this tournament. Like, Rlcs is gone. I think they had a few team issues. They were saying with scrims and stuff like that. They weren't scrimming too well. But I don't think it was like a done deal going into Worlds. I just think that it was like, okay, now we've lost. Like, that still wasn't fun. Let's make a change. I think that team like wasn't 100% broken up.
Yeah, some people are mentioning as well. It's not about the change itself; it's about how he found out, and how he found out through another player, apparently, like somebody else who wasn't on his team. So how bad do you think that is?
That hurts.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, maybe they just, what was it? I swear I read somewhere, and I don't think I don't. By the way, just a quick heads up for chat. I know absolutely zero. I'm in such a good spot. I'm having such a good time. I know nothing about rosters. I can speculate. It's great. Rizzo, meanwhile, he knows everything, so he can't say anything. Which is, you know, he's having a nightmare today.
I don't know everything. I just have to sit here and smile.
He has to like tiptoe around everything. I'm just like, I'm clueless. I'm absolutely clueless, which is great. But I swear I read somewhere that they with the Rlcs situation, they didn't want to tell him on that day because it was like right after the loss, and they're like, oh no, how do we tell him? Like, when should we tell him? But they did tell other people, obviously, and that's how they found out.
I think that's like a rough position of like, you know, you're about to make a change and you want to see who's willing, but you just can't keep your mouth shut, I guess. For like, you know, it's like you should not say anything, but I feel like it's such a hard situation to not say anything, because I feel like a lot of times you would probably be pretty excited to be able to make a move to like see who's interested in joining you, and so like a lot of players would kind of jump at the opportunity to be like, hey, like between me and you, you know, and then as soon as you say between me and you, it's between everybody, so it doesn't really matter. Like there's no like every like once you say it to somebody, you have to assume that everybody in the scene knows as soon as it's said.
It's so bad in OC as well. Like we have situations where you tell someone something, and then literally a minute later, you're getting a message from some random like 10 teams away. That's like, oh my god, is that true? It's just like, how is this happening? Like, it's like a network. Everyone's just
It must.
it's
Do you
a
reckon
it's
that
like
if
school.
LJ was planned to some degree, like before, like I don't know if he was or not, or if he's still like the guy they're going for, but if LJ was like someone they were talking to, maybe he talked to someone else who talked to someone else who told a player at Worlds, who told everyone at Worlds, who told Rlcs, and then it got back to him. Like it's almost impossible unless like you absolutely trust the new replacement player, then it's impossible not to eventually leak from someone.
And I think that they were doing the right thing in not telling him straight away because, like as you said, they were obviously going to tell other people in that moment as soon as they lost. Like Arsenal and Dan would have been talking about next season, but you don't want to tell Rlcs because they got knocked out on the Saturday. You don't want to be telling. Like it's one more day until Worlds, and then let's deal with it on Monday. Let's deal with it when Worlds finishes. Let's let everyone still have fun. But obviously they're still discussing next season. Yeah, let him get home first. But then obviously it's got out, which makes them look bad because he found out through other sources while still at Worlds. But I don't think it was the worst thing to leave it. They tried to put it off until after Worlds, which makes sense. And they obviously were already discussing it internally. Somehow it's got out. The problem is that it's got out internally. The problem isn't that, Rlcs found out through other sources and they didn't tell them like first. It's just that it did get out in the first place. So I think they were doing the right thing in that respect, not telling him straight away like you're kicked, or like even on the Sunday, hey, enjoy your world champs because you don't have a team anymore. Like,
it's like, oh, good morning. Now that you slept off like the pain from being eliminated from Worlds, you're kicked.
Okay, that's actually a really good point because I didn't think about that. Like, I feel like you'd be more open to be like telling another player of like, hey, like we're probably going to do this. Like, would you be interested? Compared to telling Rlcs initially, like, hey, like literally fresh, like rip the bandit off, like, hey, like yeah, you're kicked. I know we lost like 6 hours ago, but like. It's like you're definitely you're more open to the conversation of having another player join you compared to just kicking that player right then.
Yeah, well, you have to make the conversation. It's your job to like make the conversation about having getting the replacement that you want. If you're kicking someone, you got to get the absolute best replacement that you want, and you don't do that by not talking to them.
Also,
beforehand, so you have to.
Come Monday, if you learn Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Come Monday, those players aren't together anymore. It's so much easier to have a conversation in person. Of just like, hey, like.
True.
It's a much easier thing, so maybe they want to like get that conversation out like that in there.
Like if you're Rlcs, would you rather find out Monday or like at your teammate coming up to you on the Sunday Worlds time, like, hey man, you know what's worse than getting eliminated from Worlds? Not having a team. See you later, kid.
Just make it really cryptic. Just walk away.
Just walk off.
Then couldn't be me, and then walk off. I think teams like there's been other teams that have had this same problem where their players found out from like another player or just someone else behind the scenes before their team tells them. But it always, from what I can see, happens so fast that the team didn't even have a chance anyway. It's like, well, people just talk, so it's bound to happen. I don't know if people can really hold it against the teams or should hold it against the teams. The guild one comes to mind, like when Nolly got kicked and he didn't find out from them. I swear that whole thing happened in like a day. From I can't remember, like the initial like idea to bench him to him finding out from another team that he's getting benched.
Yeah, there's so many variables too, like contracts and whatever else, and so I feel like those two have the idea, whichever two, they have the idea of making a change, but then like if that doesn't go through, I guess they're trying to have a plan A and a plan B, right? So like we don't want to tell this player go find a new team because then plan B is ruined, and then if plan A doesn't go through, they're stuck, which I'm not saying is right, but I feel like that's kind of why a lot of times they hold it from that third player.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. I guess
Does
like
it?
You don't know what I'm talking about, CJ.
Let's in regards to that though, we sort of briefly before we get into a few more of the roster moves, we've had sort of the hot topic now because we have had a few interesting moves. We've had a few, friends joining friends, nations joining nations, stuff like that. Do you think that there should be, I'm sort of referring to Nolly's tweet a bit here. Do we think there should be more sort of control from an organizational standpoint on these moves so we don't constantly have like, oh, I'm fighting with this person, I don't want to play with them anymore, I'm going to go play with my mate? Or, there's obviously basically players have all the power, don't we? Like, although we're, they're signed to orgs, they have buyouts. If a player wants out, if a player wants to go to another team, orgs basically have to try and make it happen, unless it's like physically impossible. But most of the cases in NA and EU, the orgs have the money to do it, and if the player wants to do it, they're gonna have to because that's who they want to play with. So what are your sort of thoughts on the player control?
I think in Rocket League that's super hard. You know, if you're going to, let's say, a franchise system like Nolly said, and giving orgs the power, because in Rocket League it's a 3-man team and you don't know who's going to work together personality wise or team wise. It's so much harder to be like, I guess, a professional unit rather than a friend unit when it's so small and so important that you synergize well together, compared to like League of Legends where you have a 5-man team and you know you're going to have more of a team discussion rather than everything turning into a 2v1, which is probably the biggest problem. And then orgs are just going to make the dumbest decisions. You know, they're going to put on the content creator onto the team because he's got lots of fans.
Wait a segue.
Fans think
Wait
they're
a
really
second.
good.
Did you say content creator on a team?
CJ?
That's a great segue to the OCE scene right now with Rizzo. I know your favorite player is currently down here in OCE at the moment, but he's just creating content. He's just creating content.
What's with the, for our audio listeners, what's with the air quotes there? I'm not too sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, what's happening here? I don't understand.
There's so much content being created here in the OCE region right now for the man, Mr. Forky. What can we hypothesize that he could possibly be doing in our country? What's going on down here?
I don't know. Okay, look, obviously, you know I'm a big Forky fan. So as soon as I saw like his stream title the first day I saw, I'm pretty sure it was the first day he was there. It was like ranked from OCE, and I was like, no way. I was like, it can't be real. So I mean, there's only really one big assumption there, and it's that he's having like tryouts, right? I mean, it's a pretty easy assumption for me to make, at least. Like, why? Like, no offense, CJ and like Yumi, but like, why else would you go over there? You know, it's like,
whoa, go on.
Oh my God.
Lay off the Australia bashing, mate.
Wow, that's hard.
I mean, come on. I mean, it has to be for a team. Like, he's visiting Lachlan, but like, which one? Really? There's so many over there.
There's a lot of Lachlans over there.
Which Lachlan? Oh, I like that.
So I do know that at Worlds, when I saw Forky, the first thing he said is, "I'm going to dominate OCE." He didn't say he was definitely going to go to OCE, but he's like, "I'm going to dominate OCE, or if I go to APAC, I'm going to dominate there."
That's such a Forky thing.
It's
to
such a
say,
Forky
to walk
thing,
up to you and be like, "I'm going to dominate the Oceanic region," and then just actually move. But his team used to be Power as well. For anyone who doesn't remember, their esports decals are in the shop because of
he's still
Forky's
signed.
team.
So,
he's signed to Power Stills content.
And Lachlan, the owner, loves him. As far as I'm
imagine
aware.
the pressure though on him. Like, let's theoretically, Forky's on an OCE team. Forky has the first guy to move to an inferior region in the summer to go from a major region to an emerging region. He's the first guy purely because he can't crack it in the major region and thinks it's going to be easier to crack it in the emerging region.
They've been emerging for a while now, actually.
Yeah, the emerging season 3 region,
the expansion region.
What's the pressure like though on this guy who's coming and gone? Well, if I can't crack it here, I'll crack it down under and see how we go. I mean, that is content. That is content coming in for regionals. I will absolutely be. I think that'll get eyes. That'll get viewers to the region. If
everybody's gonna watch that, it's great. If he qualifies for regionals, which I'm sure he will. Like everyone's watching that. Everyone's watching that. That's gonna be so interesting.
There's context around that because everybody thought that he would get a slot on Power, but Fever has been announced on Power. He's moved from Renegade, so Renegades are completely dead now.
Disintegrated.
Forky has not. They're playing in a LAN qualifier, or they just qualified for a LAN without Forky, so maybe he's not getting in on that team. That would be the most likely scenario for him.
This is my sort of hypothesis based on what's going on right now. Potentially, figuratively, theoretically, if obviously Forky, it feels like Forky's not gonna leave. If Forky stays in OC, or he's not just here for a couple of weeks. Who's going? We got Rip.
That's for some
Okay.
that's for some bozo. That's
Yeah,
all
I
good.
Yeah, some bozo in
not
chat.
you,
Don't worry,
yeah.
not you. Not you.
It's,
CJ.
Or
it's
you're a
not
bozo too,
like
but all good.
it's not like he's coming down here, and for me, it's not like he's going to leave power because him and Lachlan, they're like two peas in a pod. He's the guy that he's tried to form teams around in North America to crack into the top 60 of the region. It just couldn't quite get there. But he still stuck with him, even though that team went. He still kept him on as a content creator. Now he's down in OCE. There's no way that he's going to another OCE team. However, this OCE team, Power, already has 3 members. So what I'm thinking is the only possible situation. You chuck Forky on the sub roster, right? You chuck him as the sub. And I'm doing sub in quotation marks. Split 1. Ain't quite working out. Someone's not quite, cutting it up. Lachlan makes the move. Bang. Forky's in. Split 2 on the roster. Kicks one of the guys on Power. Here comes Forky. He's just going to mow them down. Split 2 and 3. Let's see how they go. I think he's waiting in the wings for them to lose one regional, and then he's in. That's what I'm hypothesizing.
It has to be the first
OC
regional, to be honest.
Yeah, they don't win first regional. Forky's in. Mark my words.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
It is the dumbest decision ever if he's come here and doesn't join the team or doesn't join a team, because there's no content to be created in OCE. The only matches you can get at any time in the day. No, you can't get ranked matches.
CJ streamed for 5 hours the other day. There's definitely content.
Yeah, but he's like 1700 rank or like 1200 in ones. So he's playing a lot of ones.
Let's listen. No,
but Forky's like 2000. He's not going to find rank matches unless people are sniping him like they did in his first stream. Like the first stream he did, every single OC pro was sniping him on their mains.
What about US West? US West is somewhat playable.
But why would you do that? Why would you move from US to go to OC to queue US West?
That's content though. That is you can't lie. That's content.
Okay, but
myself and Yumi have queued US West together, and it is definitely content.
But realistically, like. If he doesn't get the spot that has 3 players, like, is he taking the sub spot? Like, what? Like, would he stay in OCE? Does he like it that much to stay over there?
I mean, it's got to be better than America. That's like a place to live. It's a low bar. Let's be honest.
it's a pretty easy upgrade if you ask me. But like, still, realistically, you're moving away from like, your whole family, all this stuff, and like, your hometown, whatever. But like. It's a big thing. Like, do you stay there just for the sake of being a sub to like do content?
Or is it a 4-man roster, Rizzo? Is it a 4-man?
It could be.
Who's feeling it this weekend, boys? You're in.
Yeah, or you just if they're in a good spot against a bad team in a bracket, they might just be like, right, we're gonna throw Forky in.
Content time.
Hoody, talk to me.
Some competitive experience.
So do you think Forky's going to be like how Musty, there was a tech pause on NRG, he's hopping into Rings workshop maps. Forky's streaming, doing a viewing party, bomb, there's a tech timeout, Amphis has lost his internet, he's straight on free play slow-mo. He's just getting ready, getting warm.
Yeah, I didn't know he had moved over there. I mean, I saw like some content.
You didn't know?
I didn't know he was over there. I didn't know he was over there long term.
Oh my god, that was the biggest news the whole month.
No, I didn't know.
That's insane. Yeah, the man is in OCE training right now. He's just on the rank grind.
Yeah.
There's only one reason he could do that. He has to lock in that spot.
I think you guys have got to be on the right track there because, why else? Why else would you move away from your home and what else you're doing unless you've got an opportunity to play? So.
You say he's on the rank grind. I just checked his Steam. He was last online 1 day and 6 hours ago. So not quite on the rank grind. Just, exploring. Doing a bit of
that's about the time it takes. That's about the time it takes to get a flight back home, I think. 30-hour flight time sounds right to me, so I don't know.
One of the spiders or scorpions got him. He didn't shake out his shoe.
Oh, no.
You gotta be careful.
Check underneath the toilet seat.
Maybe he's burnt out. He's played the same 2 people in OCE rank for a week straight, and he's like, I need 2 days off.
Legitimately,
I've heard he couldn't beat CJ though in rank. Is that true? CJ, were you farming him?
Yeah, I've been farming him. He can't beat me.
Oh no,
it's done.
Legitimately though, if OCE, how many viewers does OCE average, like for their regionals?
About 10K.
20 peak.
10K. I was gonna say
20K peak. Yeah.
10, 20. Okay, 20K. 20. Let's say 20K.
10, 12 av.
If Forky's playing, I'm saying that first regional, they're getting 30K alone because of Forky.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
All of NA is watching to see
Well,
if NA is
CJ
better
casting
than OCE.
Forky.
Yes.
Content.
I would stay
I'm
up to
there.
watch that 100%. I would do a viewing party.
I'm
of
getting
that.
up to watch it at like 2 in the morning.
Yes, exactly.
What time does it start? Does it start like now? Like this time of day?
No, it starts in
No,
about
like 7
hours.
8 hours.
Wait, in 7 hours? Okay,
7
that's great.
hours.
It starts at 5 p.m. everywhere in the world.
3.
Except
It'd be
for
like 3
places that
a.m. for me.
pushed it later. Yeah.
That's sick. Okay, perfect.
I'm staying
Lock
up for
it
that
in.
though.
That is the roster. That would be the roster move of doesn't matter what happens from here. There's nothing that could be better than Forky in OCE trying to crack it, trying to make an international event.
That
and
would
trying to get top two.
legitimately be the most exciting move for me to like watch in like literally in RLCS history. That would be the most exciting thing for me to
It's
watch.
up there. It's up there.
Massive. But yeah, that's OCE. That's basically us. You know, Fever's on power, and Renegades have disintegrated based on that. Because I'm gone. Lachlan's
So
put up.
you're gone. Fever's gone. What's happening to Cammy?
Well,
Yeah, what's
you
happening
know,
to Kami, CJ?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's Kami's gonna land on his feet. I think he's gonna be landing on his feet. That's all. That's all.
Where is he going to go, though?
I think he'll land on his feet, Yummy. And he's landing strong, 2 feet firmly planted, really nice, soft landing as well. I think it's going to be
Soft
exciting for him.
landing, yeah.
I'm excited
key.
for the future of Kami.
No turbulence on his way to his new team.
No, he's just confirmed in
He
chat.
just said
He's out.
in chat, no, I'm out this bitch.
GG's
Oh,
coming,
dear.
GG's. But
Good luck
yeah,
to you, Kami.
OCE, Fever, Forky, what's going on? Fever, like Forky's coming in. I thought that was a replacement. Fever's taking his spot. Forky's pissed. You know, obviously we don't really know what's going on, but
They should.
we're just.
They should. Just
Fever's a
reformat
sick
the roster thing.
replacement, though.
It's a nice replacement for Express.
Yeah.
It's a team to watch. Certainly got the feels like a 2-horse race now. The Pioneers and the Power with Ground Zero, the Karkars Minions who came 3rd in the Commonwealth Games. They're waiting in the wings
Against
as the
pickup
first-
teams.
against pickup teams.
Yeah.
Wait, how
Massive
did
performance.
How did they lose?
They lost to
3-0. Yeah, Cash Ixo and what was it?
Oh,
maybe?
Oh, they actually lost to EU player. I thought you meant they lost to bubble
Yeah.
players in OCE. I was like, what?
Oh no,
No, it was our number 4 team, Kako's Minions.
Yeah.
They were an actual team, but they lost to a pickup team essentially for Commonwealth.
But Cash is a pickup team warrior. Like you get him in a 6-man, he's
True,
dominating.
true.
So he loves
Facts.
that situation. We segue to EU though, where the
Yeah, I was gonna say. So did you say that they lost? So Kakas Minions number 4 OCE lost to Cash Ixo,
Yeah.
Yes.
and then of course Cash and Ixo, probably based on that, have decided, yeah, let's just team for the next season because they're doing that. They're teaming. They've announced it. Cash Ixo relating wave, and the community response to that one was Cash just deserves better teammates. There were like so many comments on Reddit, so many comments on Twitter about, wow, I really thought Cash could do better than this. Like what's going on with that's not me agreeing with that, by the way. I don't know what's going on with the community response to that one. I'm gonna be honest. Like it was fast. They did announce that team early. But what do you guys think? Does Cash deserve better teammates?
I think he loves this situation. Every team he's on, it's like Cash is carrying. Cash needs a better team. I think he secretly loves it. I think he doesn't want to be on a better team. He wants to be the man. So.
Oh,
I'm
do you
not
really
sure.
think that? You really think he doesn't want to be on a better team?
No, he just sizes up his teammates. He's like, yeah, I've got these guys covered. Let's team.
But like, Ixo and Relating Wave aren't bad. I think Wave had some
No.
pretty disappointing lands this season, but online he was really good at times. And Ixo, like, he's been really good at times online. He obviously didn't play any lands except the Gamers 8
Neither
one.
did Cash, so
Yeah, Cash and yeah, I reckon that yeah, I think people are underestimating that team.
well, going back to the franchise idea, it's all decided by players. If the players respected him enough, he'd be on a better team. He'd be in Moist esports right now, you know. But I think there's questions around. Well, I don't know what there would be questions around, but there's often questions from the audience around their ability to perform under pressure and close out a series. And so, there's more than one factor. Be successful. So that's a large reason why Cash isn't on a quote unquote better team that I agree with Johnny that relating wave who went to every single land this year isn't as bad as everybody thinks.
He did play bad at nearly every land, though.
He did play pretty badly at lands. Yeah,
people are saying like Cash is just that good and stuff like that, but I think it's like you said, it's what the players think. It's not what the viewer thinks. Like, yeah, flip resets are cool and all, but if the players don't think that like the player can handle the like top 6 teams, they're not going to get picked up by a top 6 team, sort of stuff like that.
I feel like Cash is, playing him personally reminds me. I talk a lot about Magic Bear and NA. He's just the biggest scrimmanctor, we call him. Just hitting 40 flip resets in scrims. Like, best player I've ever, like, on the pitch, you'd be like, this guy's best player in the world in scrims. How is he not doing this in a tournament? And I feel like that's Cash. When he's in 6-mans and scrims, he is just clipping. He's constantly going for like corner doubles, just crazy stuff. He's trying to do the most ridiculous things. Perhaps that's what, we're seeing from home, thinking this guy could be one of the best players in the world. But then, on game day, maybe in a top lineup, you don't see that. So
for Rizzo CJ, how much like does personality and like, how much do you actually like this person? Does that play a role into this stuff? Because sometimes there definitely are questions from an outside view where you're like, I would just assume that this player might get better tryouts, and maybe they didn't get, maybe the tryouts didn't go well, but just curious how much like personality plays a role in that.
Go on, Rizzo. You're the man for this.
I'm the man.
What are you saying? There is he's been picked up like every time throughout his career for his personality, his gameplay. What is that supposed to mean, CJ?
That seemed like a wild assumption there, Johnny. I don't know what that was, but coming out of left field with that one.
Connect the dots here. I'm trying to connect the dots.
Don't worry about it. I think it's a huge thing because like a lot of players, it's weird because a lot of players won't talk to each other. Like I feel like just initially, but as soon as like they're looking for a player, they'll have like a couple conversations and like actually like play ranked with the people or whatever, and they'll like just talk to them and be like, hey, this guy's actually pretty cool. Like, we actually like this guy. But I think it's a huge thing. I think a lot of players, I don't think a lot of teams like necessarily just like pick their friends. Like say we go back to like Nully's tweet. But if you have the choice, you're going to pick your friend a lot of the time. Just in general, I think.
If that's the deciding factor.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
all else is kind of even, why would you not pick your friend?
I think Nolly's tweet, by the way, is very much down to personal experience because he was the only non-French speaker on a French-speaking team. And so he pretty much spent all of LAN hanging out without those guys.
We should probably like read out the general gist of Nolly's tweet that we keep referring to. Cause we were planning on like going in depth on this later, but I guess since we brought it up so much, we might as well just do that now. Then we can go back to other roster talks and rumors after. But
this is a really good topic too.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So it's tied into what we've just been talking about. Of course, he feels like orgs need to step in more. I'm massively summarizing here because he wrote four long tweets. But yeah, he thinks that orgs need to step in more. Players just have too much control and they pick their friends, and it's not a good system. He's for franchising as a solution, and the problem he has with players having all the say is, like we mentioned earlier, 3-man roster for Rocket League means it turns into 2v1, and the one has no chance, no say. He just kicked. It's inevitable. Nothing you can do about it. And he says it doesn't happen anywhere else at all, but in EU, it's a major thing to be kicked for not speaking the other two players' language. Of course, referring to the French-English thing. I think Spanish is another pretty big one for that. So yeah, if you don't, he says, despite everyone speaking perfect English in the scene anyway, it completely ruins teams from forming and elevating the region. And yeah, he finishes off saying, I know a lot of people have differing opinions, and that's all right. This isn't also me calling anyone out, although it kind of, this is me saying, I think it kind of does feel like that. Although he says it isn't, but I don't know. We'll discuss whether.
He's saying it's not like an individual situation, but it
it's
happened a lot. It has happened a lot.
Yeah, it has happened a lot. He says not calling anyone out, but that's not really up for Nolly to say. I think you can say that, but I mean it doesn't mean anything in this context, I reckon. But he should call people out, I reckon.
I think as well, it's more so in Rocket League. There's a possibility of a potential for star players to team with star players than most sports. I'd say it's often rare. Like it'd be rare to have like a, you know, a Messi, Ronaldo on a team, stuff like that. You know, usually these star players are sort of locked into big contracts with those orgs, and they're that orgs, you know, that's that orgs player that they're always going to build a team around. However, in Rocket League, you know, we're going to, you know, theoretically speaking, you know, we're hypothesizing again. It could be absolutely possible that next season there could be a beast mode first killer Daniel roster, something like that, which you'd probably think in other sports a lot of the time that wouldn't be possible to have, you know, the big boys, like some of the best players in the world, or, you know, you could have a Yan, stuff like that. That really, it's more like, should that be a thing? I think is more like what sort of Noel is saying in that sort of situation. Should we be able to do it based on that, or should they be tied down more to the orgs? Like, no, well, if you're that good and you've signed a massive contract, you're getting paid a lot of money, then too bad. Like, you're that, you know, you're stuck. You're not stuck, but you know what I mean? There's no way you can team with this other best player in the world situation.
Well, I just think the counter to Nolly's tweet is the fact that he very likely wouldn't be in the position he's in now, or that he was in this season, if it was a franchise system, because you got to be able to find like, orgs are going to pick up people who are popular with who like can show merit early on, and Nolly was kind of like obviously a good fit pick, and somebody who could replace Stake well. He was out of the limelight for a while there, so it would have been very unlikely for him to get picked up.
Yeah, it definitely seems like this current system is like catered towards prioritizing the players, but with the current structure of things, it definitely. And people have said it all in the tweets and whatever else, but it definitely does give all the power to players. You know, I mean, we even see with like coaches. Sometimes coaches are just left out to dry, you know, and there may not be a whole lot of explanation. So, I think, you know, none of the systems are going to be perfect. The franchising system's not going to be perfect. They're just going to have their pros and cons, and I guess, you know, it's just for Psionics or the community or whatever to decide, you know, what pros they think are more important. And it seems like so far it's been the priority of the players and protecting the players.
Yeah, I think Yumi brought this up earlier, but it's so hard to like manage franchising in a 3-player like team, that like even if there was franchising, I do think players would still control the roster. If 2 players want to kick 1 player, that player's gone. If 1 player wants to leave that team, that player's gone. There's no reason for you to keep a player that is unhappy in your roster or like with your org, because if you do that, it's just going to have like varying results, and then you're going to have like this constant negativity, this constant like bad, this is a better word, but like bad vibes with your team and stuff like that. And it's just going to create like this hostile environment.
And it's harder to, I guess, judge Rocket League off viewing than actually playing against or with players as well, I feel like.
Let me ask you guys a question, because this pops up occasionally. I see. What do you guys think about raising the minimum age?
Maybe in the future, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not now.
If LANs were regional, I think you'd have to. Yeah, if regionals were on LAN, you'd probably have to if there was more travel. I know that, you know, from chatting to, say, the Pioneers boys, even having 4 LANs, it was like, and they only went to 2 majors and worlds, was already like, in terms of school, which I guess is the sort of the main concern with how much time they can put in, how much travel. Like, that was already, you know, we might have to not do school next year, or, you know, you look at, say, Justin, a lot of these guys were doing sort of school from home or dropping out of school, stuff like that. I think that, you know, if as sort of Johnny was saying, in the future, we did sort of look to have these, you know, say regionals were on LAN, I think you have to up it, because it's already too much time away from school already with LANs and stuff, potentially, if you're going to all the majors. Like, the Pioneers boys aren't playing right now because they've got to catch up on schoolwork. They're like a couple months that they've missed. So
there would have to be something for the young players, though. If there was a raise in the minimum age, you can't just be like, and now you need to be 16 to play RLCS, and the next year, and now it's 17, and now it's 18, and this guy's just been like, come on, man.
He's like one behind the whole time. Can't wait for next year.
Yeah, you missed the cut. So, yeah, because that's probably how it would work. It wouldn't be a big, like, 3-year jump, and then suddenly, you know, some pros are back to not being eligible again. You'd have to do it in increments if your goal is eventually to make it 18, which I don't know if that's ever the case.
Or Team
for
Liquid, you
RLCS.
know, they're able to play the last split, and then
Yeah.
you know it goes up between seasons. And then
Yeah,
They can't play the next
they play the last split every season. Yeah, it would have to go up like increments, I think. But if you do make a 16 plus RLCS, you'd have to have a 15 plus like division as well. And it would all be online, I guess, just all regional online, no LANs for the younger age group. So it's a big undertaking. It would be very expensive, I think, because you'd have to have a whole other league with more prize money.
I'm just against it. I like the fact that it's a young focused game that can have young players, and it's up to those individual players. I know that 15-year-olds aren't known for being particularly wise, but if they can figure it out, like they can figure out how to make Rocket League work, then that's on them. If they can't, then that's kind of like a soft limit on age.
So, like actually a lot of the players who have continued or finished started their pro career while in school, largely from what I can see, have not been negatively affected by school. I think it's perfectly manageable. It's only when LANs become a thing that it becomes awkward, and that might be a reason why some teams need an older sub if one of their players is too young to go to all the LANs. Maybe they just have to leave him at home, do school. Like Khaled missed fall major because of school this season, and he was 18 at the time. He missed college, so it's already happened where somebody's missed a LAN because of school, and they did have a sub to step in and they did well. So other teams probably want to look at that and think, okay, if maybe Pioneer situation happens, exactly. Fark is a good example. You got an older player who can travel, do your LANs, who's competitive, like what happened with Sandrock, because Khaled missed it because of school.
I'm just imagining a scenario now where Power are just there to qualify Forky for LAN, and Forky only plays LAN.
He's the LAN boy. I agree, though. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it stays 15 plus.
Somebody did mention as well, why are they doing school with their pros? Surely their pay is good. Yeah, a lot of pros like pay is good, and you can make like 6 figures a year being a pro. But you have to realize, like, a pro career, by some miracle, CJ and I lasted like 5 years. Don't know how that happened, but
massive effort.
We are anomalies in that situation. Even being there for 5 years, like most pros' career, like
it's like 2 years average, maybe
2 years probably like max. Yeah, I don't even know if that's average. I feel like 1 year, because like if you're thinking like
maybe let's say
depending on what your
like
range is, yeah.
1.5 to be like a pro who's making a good living and saving. Like, because making enough to live is one thing, but yeah, making enough to live and also save a bunch is another. So
yeah, you're not going to be able to retire being a pro player. Like you need school and your education. Like that's still very important.
And it also, the other important thing about school is it gives structure to the lives of these kids who otherwise wouldn't have, like, where do you have a social life if you're a 15-year-old pro player? Like if you dropped out of school early, like what's your social life? What are you gonna do? Your social life is fully online, which is gonna, I think, hinder your development. And the school, going actually to school and socializing with people your own age is a big part of learning. I think it's important for that reason, as well as just having a routine to keep you from having the kind of sleep schedule I've got right now, where I'm up at 2 in the morning. It's very easy to do that if you just drop out of school and then do absolutely nothing except play Rocket League and other video games.
Do you think, though, that you sort of mentioned before, Khaled missing a lane because of school and stuff like that. Is that a problem just with esports? Because professional sports, this doesn't happen. Like, that's your thing. If you're a professional soccer player, we're talking about obviously the highest level, because the RLCS is the highest level of Rocket League. If you're an NBA player, we're not saying, oh, this guy's can't play this week because he's doing some homework. Like, it doesn't happen. But is that because esports is so young, it's yet to be sort of fully adopted?
Yeah.
Because the money's still there. It's not like we're obviously you're not paying NBA salaries, but yeah, as we said, these guys are getting 6 figures, but also being like, don't know, I've got to test this weekend.
You can't go NBA when you're too young. That's like what the other option we're discussing is, because you need to be a certain age before you can join. Before that, you're just playing in the collegiate league or something. I don't know how exactly that works, but you would have a league that is fully like worked around the school calendar. But that is obviously, since Rocket League's not tied to, well, since RLCS isn't tied to schools, CRL is, then it's not attached. You can't work around the school calendar. It's just got its own calendar.
I getting back to, I guess, your point about the the structure of someone's life. I 100% agree with you. Unless scrims start becoming like, I guess when you like Rizzo knows, when you're boot camping, scrims sometimes get like, well, we're doing a 1 p.m. scrim. Whoa, look at us, we're so early. But apart from that, scrims are like 5 p.m. They start at maybe 4, sometimes 4 p.m., but usually 5 p.m. because it's all based around school, yeah. So, but then these guys, drop out of school, as you said. They're not doing anything between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. anyway.
Yeah, they're just sleeping.
Why are they not at school?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. They're just doing
anything
nothing
else.
Yeah, they just sleep. Well, I mean, of course, anyone in that position I'm not looking. I would do the same thing, but I would do exactly the same if I dropped out of school to be a pro Rocket League player. I would 100% just sleep in until 1,000,000 o'clock, then wake up for scrims, and then after play a bit more Rocket League, have dinner, play another game. Then just do nothing and go to bed. Like, you just like stay up late doing nothing. We all know what that's like. So of course school is like a way to stop that from happening and to keep you in a routine, keep your social life active in like years that are extremely important for your development as a human and as a young professional. So
yeah, I think
school is so important.
I was homeschooled for a semester.
That explains
okay,
everything.
don't say that. I was homeschooled for 1 semester, by the way. In high school, and all I did was play League of Legends. So I 100% like that is the same exact thing.
And you didn't even make it out of silver. Like it was completely.
Okay, let's ignore that actually.
I like there's no argument to me that school is like taking up more time. Like it's stopping you from being the best player you can be, because if you're getting home from school at 3 and you're playing till 11 or something, you can still get 6 hours a day of Rocket League in 7 hours a day, which is still gonna be as much as anyone's doing anyway. No one's playing 16 hours of Rocket League a day.
You're above the
You can play one day of Rocket League and play more than Jory's in 2 weeks. But yeah, school's not hindering. So I actually had this discussion with the Pioneers boys, because they were sort of talking about like they don't want to do school next year and stuff like that. And I was like, for me personally, I did school and I did uni when I was playing. The only reason I took a gap year from uni was in 2019 when it was like the Dream Hacks and all that stuff. It was like sort of a crazy year with travel, and I couldn't sort of make it for exams and stuff like that. But in terms of school, like going, 9 to 3 or whatever, I don't know, that might be the NA school time as well, 9 to 3 or 9 to 8 till 3:30 or something like that. It's perfectly fine to be able to still manage that and Rocket League. And I think you're gonna be happier, like in terms of your mental health, doing something else and not. I think the problem, sort of like deviating a little bit off school, is that when people make Rocket League their life, it rarely goes well, because then your whole mental health. I think Yumi spoke about this as a player. Is when Rocket League is your life, and you have a bad game, you feel like a bad person. Or if your whole social life is based around your Rocket League. If you play bad, it's going to carry on to you hanging out with your mates
If you
later.
lose scrims, you've just lost the whole day. The whole day is L.
Exactly.
That's all you did that day.
The
all you've done that day is like
L.
all you've done
L
that day
day.
is like 2 hours of scrims. You lost them both. Unlucky, bad day. Like you didn't do anything. Like literally do nothing else. Like I think school is so important, because there's so many examples. I don't want to name names because this isn't really the point to like call people out who fell off. That's not the point of this. The point of this is like there's a lot. Yeah, no, that's not the idea. The point is that. I've seen so many times where somebody's been, in school, top of the world of Rocket League, one of the best players, and then as soon as they leave school, they just fall off because they lose like the structure to their life, and there's no upside. There's a lot of downsides. They lose the structure in their life. Their mental health goes in the bin. Their sleep schedule's terrible. They aren't eating at the proper times of day, and there's zero upside. They're not playing Rocket League more. They're not like improving faster. There's just like a bunch of L's for no gain. So I can't see any reason personally to leave school early.
CJ hit the nail on the head too with mentality wise. It's so important that your entire personality is not based on how you're doing in Rocket League. I experienced that. It's a lot more nerve-wracking when your everything, your 100% is based on that one series that you're going to play on a weekend in RLCS, and if you fail that, you're a failure. Because I was employed when I first started playing, and then partway through my career, I was no longer employed, and Rocket League became everything. Hey, Feer! Oh, see ya, Feer. So Rocket League became everything, and then I got all of a sudden so much more nervous while I was playing. And then once I became a caster again and a coach, I I was so much better on game day once more because you just didn't have all that pressure on your shoulders.
Oh, quick question, CJ. When you took your gap year, how old were you for
that was
nights?
that was college uni, so that was 2021.
Yeah, see that's like very different. So if somebody's thinking about taking a gap year from like further education, that would be, I think, fine. It's like just the finishing off the high school years.
Well,
I think
even
is so
still,
important.
CJ's always been very good at like being close with family and friends and doing stuff, playing golf or whatever it is outside of Rocket League that you can have an achievement with. In a lot of degenerates like me or other gamers, they end up only playing Rocket League, or they might play some other games, but they don't care quite as much about those other games. You don't have like such a diverse personality for yourself.
And on that as well, like I found personally that my worst, like sort of what you said, my worst years performing was the couple of years where I wasn't doing anything else. Sort of like when I took the gap year and then like sort of the COVID where I wasn't really, it's sort of like Rocket League did become my life in a sense. That was when I was performing worse and I was probably playing the most. Whereas the years when I'm, so like this year I've been back at uni or college for you NA folk. Back at uni, and it's just having that balance just makes you so much more like, righto, well, Rocket League's just a part of my day. It's not my whole day. So, like, I cannot recommend it enough. I chatted to the Pioneers boys about this at Worlds. I cannot recommend it enough. Doing something outside of Rocket League, having at least, like, it could be you're still playing, trying to play a sport outside of Rocket League. It doesn't have to be just school or a further education, but
yeah, it could be like a trade or something, or like a part-time job. It could be anything, but you don't need to do Rocket League full-time to be the best Rocket League player that you can be.
Exactly, because then you have a bad day and it's like, oh well, like that's just a part of my day. Who like whatever, but I've got W's in the other part of my day. I went and saw friends or hung out with family or when I did this, I'm catching other dubs, even if I'm catching all these L's in Rocket League. It's not my life is not an L. It's massive. So we sort of deviated.
So yeah, to go back, what about franchising, just to get
yeah, back to franchising.
Franchising is also an L.
Feer, Feer has joined us, by the way. Let's ask Feer, what do you think about franchising RLCS?
I was listening to you guys talking about it. I wasn't here the whole time you guys were talking about it, but the idea is interesting to me. I was surprised to hear how negative it seemed like. It seemed like this group was like it wouldn't work, or specifically Rizzo, you saying that it wouldn't matter. That was an interesting take to me because, like, I'm thinking about Moist and how if they were like a franchise, like you would just never. That team is so good, you'd never let Vatira go, right? I mean, do you really think like a player would be able to work themselves out of that good of a team?
Well, how does that make sense though? Because if a player doesn't want to be on a team, this example or any other example where a player wants to leave a team, why would you keep that player?
So the way I see it is like, what I'm assuming is Vatira.
What does franchising make the difference there? If a player wants to leave, what does it matter if it's franchised or not?
Yeah, he still had to get out of his contract.
Yeah.
I think the big difference there is that the org would own the spot, where right now the player owns a spot. So like structurally, the org will have a little bit more leverage there.
Oh, the org.
In this theoretical KC is another franchise, right? That I guess like Vatira is getting pulled to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd probably be easier. It would be much easier almost.
What you're saying, Rizzo, is still true, though. Like, even if the org does have the means to force a player to stay.
Every org has the means to force a player to stay. Like, no org is dumb enough to just let
they're all
player
contracted.
walk. Yeah,
they're all contracted.
They all have the ability.
Clauses,
but exactly. They all have the ability to do this. Like, no, you're going to stay. You guys are going to play 3 next season. Right. Good luck. Like, why would they do that, though? That's basically what I'm getting at.
So the way I mean, to me, it seemed like specifically with Moist, like that team's obviously an insanely good team. And I didn't get the vibe, even after this move stuff has happened and Vatira's talked about it, that they were super unhappy or anything like that. Just he saw like an opportunity to move and do something he might have liked even more. So I imagine a world in which Moist, who wants to stay as like the best team, is like, we prefer if you didn't or whatever. However, they stop people from doing that. And I don't see Vatira being like terribly upset in that team situation. Whereas I guess there could be some team situations where it's like it'd be dumb to keep them together because they'll just, I don't know, hate each other, throw games, something really bad. But I wouldn't expect that from those guys. But maybe I don't understand the behind the scenes of the team.
I think if that was like the expectation from the very start, that would make a lot of sense. Like that kind of players were beholden to the org more than anything else. But nowadays, and for the longest time, it's always been like a player hears about their opportunity to play with this player and that player, the French team or whatever it is, and go, oh my God, this is so exciting. It's so exciting. And then when it all goes, well, no, we're going to hold on to you. It almost feels like that's getting taken away from you, that opportunity to play with a team that you wanted. So you feel really, really bad about that. Then when issues start happening with your team that you are forced to play with, it all falls apart a lot quicker.
What was the Vatira stream translation? He talked about it on his live stream the other day, the whole situation about him leaving Moist, and yeah, there was like somebody translated it in a Reddit thread. I don't remember all the comments, don't have it on me, but I remember one of the ones he said was that obviously, you know, being able to speak in his own language would be a pretty big deal, because it's not just inside the game, it's also outside the game. You know, you want to be able to chat and socialize, and you can obviously have a better time socializing and having fun and just like chilling with your team if you're speaking your your main language, not speaking your second language. So that makes sense. And he also say that he didn't like being the team that trolls scrims, and maybe he was part of the trolling scrims by the end of it, but he did say that he didn't want that. He'd rather not be the team who are getting blacklisted from scrims, because they're trolling. Maybe he just doesn't see a future where that isn't how he would play and how he would practice with Joyo and Rise. Maybe he thought that he was just stuck in the team that were gonna troll scrims, even if they are winning lands. So like, he thought that they were pretty. I think he also said that they were pretty lucky at times going game 7 all the time. He didn't want to do that. He wants to just 4-0, 4-0, 4-1. Enough of these game 7 comebacks.
I think to answer half of that, I think what he was talking about with the being lucky thing was the SSG kickoff.
Yeah.
I think he considers that lucky, and since they got the like they could have been eliminated there, but since they got that kickoff, they won.
They won the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The kickoff was a catalyst.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, they won the tournament because of the kickoff.
They had a lot of game 7s, like he said as well. He was talking about
a lot of game 5s, a lot of game 7s where they're down and coming back. They were the comeback team, but he doesn't want to do that. Like, as cool as it is to,
he just wants to
have
win.
That on his resume.
He just wants to
win
dominate
comfortably. Yeah. Makes sense.
Do we think there's a fan benefit from franchising? Have you guys talked about that? I might have tuned in.
No, we've not gone into that.
I don't think so.
In terms of a fan benefit, how would you like it if SSG all of a sudden was a completely different roster? All 3 players changed, but they're still in the same position. They're still SSG. They're still in, let's say it's franchise, still guaranteed to be in the league playing every single week. But all of a sudden, it's just 3 randoms. It's Forky, Evampel, and Jazer playing. Because face it, like they've guaranteed their spot. They've got their spot, but those are the 3 that are going to bring in all those numbers.
Oh yeah, that's a nightmare situation. I mean,
do you think orcs would do that, Yumi? Where they would like?
Oh hell yeah, there'd be some orcs.
They would not care about their performance and just prioritize like content creator or big viewer players.
Franchise
did that.
Who did?
Power.
Yeah.
They got their decal. They had a team that maybe promised them the world. I don't know. Maybe they had.
I feel like that sounds so crazy though, because franchising, like, isn't there typically some sort of charge to the org to be involved?
There would be a number of teams that do everything they possibly can and buy the best possible players and spend ridiculous amounts of money to try and win it. And then there'd be other franchise teams who don't have the money to kind of compete that way, but what they can do is make a ton of money. And that's in the end the most important thing. You want to make the money. So you get the people who are popular, you get the content creators, you get whatever it is that's going to get eyes on your brand, on your sponsors, and then you make money through the franchise that way. You know, if you're going to come last either way, you may as well do it with a bang.
It has happened in like honestly like regular sport, but in the A League, which is the Premier League for Australia, one of the teams that wasn't any good got Usain Bolt to play a few games for them. Purely, like he's actually was all right as well. He scored a couple of goals, like in the Premier League of Australia. But that's purely, I'm not going to get the best player. It's for the content, I guess. I guess it's the same as someone picking up the content creators. It's for the viewership and to sell some jerseys and stuff like that. So, I mean, it could happen with friends. I guess that's for in terms of professional standards, stuff like that. It's probably not what we want to see in the RLCS, to have these guys that are going to lose every week, but they're the content creators. And then you have people that are just trying to get their face on camera to create content so they can get on a top team rather than being good at the game. Shroud, I guess, with Sentinels is similar as well, but he's actually pretty good. But a lot of this does happen in regular. As you said, with Power, they picked up Forky because he's a massive streamer and tried to build a team around him and try to make it successful, and it didn't work. But
I've got some
that was when they
questions
tried to build an NA team, by the way. Some people might not know that.
Yeah, they got their esports decals and everything. So for Nolly, he said franchising. Well, he didn't go into any other detail about why he wants franchising, but he did say that he wants franchising so that there would be more org control over roster moves, rather than player control. But I don't even know if that would be like a good outcome. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would that actually be more stable for players? I feel like it would be just as bad, but no, the org's the one kicking you instead of the. I think there's
no difference. The only thing that matters is and RLCS could do this now. If there was just standardization in contracts, that sort of thing, and if franchising brings that, then maybe that's a benefit of you can't have a buyout over this in this season, or you can't have a minimum buyout clause is this amount, this is what you need to pay for buyout, here's maximum, stuff like that. And then I don't know, just making set rules for all this stuff. That's the only way it would become where orgs might have more control in that sense. But
would it be better for the player, do you think, if the org did have more control, and now the org can just kick you because you didn't fulfill your stream
because you own gold once
quota? Orgs, my point is orgs right now have to behave almost, because they don't have much control, so the orgs have got to be good, otherwise the players are just going to leave and get a better org. But if the org has the spot, the players have got to be good. They've got to do everything the org says, otherwise the org might just be yeah, you're kicked because you didn't do your 20 hours of streaming this month, so you're off the roster. Bye.
Right. Well, that's why there's also there should be regulation in that sense. If there's franchising, there needs to be I would say no regulated streaming. They shouldn't be forced to stream.
They shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Yeah. They shouldn't force their players to stream X amount of hours, because that makes no sense. They're a pro player in their league. That's the reason they're there. Who cares about streaming? Unless RLCS wants that, then it could be standardized for everybody.
So most of this franchising suggestion stems from trying to slow down the high volatility or high turnover rate with teams. So instead of going to the extreme of franchising and restructuring the whole esport, what are some other things, like Rizzo just mentioned, maybe some stipulations or regulations, or some places to operate within for contracts? What are some, I guess, other ways that maybe you could tone down the frequency with which that happens?
But does franchising reduce the volatility? I just think it does. There's still going to be just as many moves.
It may, exactly. It may not.
Yeah.
So it may
I think Hoody's hit the nail
anyways.
again by just referring to the fact that franchising is not the solution that Nolly's looking for.
Right.
So what is?
Yeah, well, exactly. He wants more stability. Well, I mean, one of the points Nolly made was sometimes a team are perfectly fine at speaking English, but they want to make a full French team anyway, or something like that. He didn't. I'm paraphrasing again, of course, but obviously that has to be what he's referring to, because there's a ton of times in Rocket League's history and currently where two French players just get rid of someone who doesn't speak French in their roster to get someone who does speak French, and now they can all speak French, even if the team was pretty good before or very good before. And that's obviously gonna leave a bad taste in the mouth of the guy who's well, come on, we're a good team, and you're kicking me just because I don't speak French, and you don't even know if you're gonna be better with the new player. Yeah, that's obviously gonna feel pretty bad, but is it a problem? Do you guys think that's a problem?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's a problem at all. I think if a team want to kick a player because they want to speak French, that's fine. I don't see an issue with that.
It's exactly the same as in a sport. If a guy wants to move back to where his family's from, go play for a team from their home state or whatever, it's exactly the same situation. It's more about your personal life and life outside of the game that is more impacted. And I understand what Nolly's saying. Purely competitively speaking, results based, it might not be the best move, but that's not what. It's not all about results. I know that you could say for some people's career it is all about results, but it's also about mental health, lifestyle, social life, stuff like that. If he can be So for Vatira's sake, if he can be with a French org, he's got French managers. Back, I guess you could say his home country's org. He's going to have, get more fans from it in his own country, and he's going to be more comfortable in the environment and can hang out with them more so than, in an English environment. Then it's not all about results, and that might help him play better on the pitch. If he's off the field, it's a bit more comfortable for him. So, yeah, I don't think that's a good take. Purely like, oh well, if you can speak English a little bit, then why would you leave? Well, I think there's a lot more to it. It's not just results.
For the people in chat who are kind of referring to what you're saying as well, in terms of like comms aren't that important. It's actually more important off the pitch that you all speak the same language, to be able to like explain a concept and sit there and talk about something. I've experienced that with the French and English speaking roster where we had to use Feer to translate sometimes. And even then, Feer's not like 100% confident in his English. And so concepts, you can't really like go as far in depth on what you want to do on the pitch. And also people are just like way more comfortable with their play, with people of their same language. And this is like I feel like this is the first time that this has become like a huge thing. Like we now have a full Spanish team, multiple full French teams, 2 full English teams that look like they're all coming out of the woodworks. That wasn't a thing before. We had like the French super team, maybe a second one. We'd maybe have an English team, but now it's all of a sudden becoming a huge thing.
I don't think it's an issue. I think it's fine. I don't see how franchising would fix any of that or have a positive impact. But in terms of like, if we just ignore all that and just talk about franchising as an idea, like I'm against it because I like the players having more control over their pro career and orgs having less control. I don't want orgs to have control.
Too. Orgs should not have control. Orgs have fucked over so many people. And
just like, exactly. I think that there are some good orgs.
The opportunity?
There are some really good orgs. There's some great orgs, but there's also some really bad orgs, and I don't want them to have any control at all. So I love the way it is right now. I think the players having more control, orgs having less control is great, and hope it continues.
Someone made a good point as well, right? If you're not good enough or you're not a top player, you're not going to get on the team that you want to get on, right? If Vatira wasn't any good, he's not going to come in to get like his lifestyle. You're going to have to put up with what you get, if that makes sense. Like, if Vatira was just a player that was scrambling around for a team, he might have to join an English team and, make do with it. But Vatira is that good that he's given himself the opportunity to be able to make whatever move he wants to personally because he's that good at the game and he's established himself. But a lot of players don't get that opportunity.
Why would you not join KC or like a massive French org or a massive Spanish org if you're Spanish? Like it's a no-brainer. Like these orgs are insanely popular, and it can really like help players build their other revenue streams, like their social medias and their live streams, their YouTube channels, get them networking in that scene. So I think it's a really, really smart move for any like French speaking player to try and join a big French org, or like Spanish speaking player to join a big Spanish org. Makes perfect sense. I don't see a problem with that. I did have another question for you guys though. So in terms of like entertainment value, do you guys think it would be more interesting for fans and for like just the esport in general if franchising was a thing? Would it be a better watch? Would more people watch, or would it just be the same or worse?
I think a lot of people latch onto the idea that it would be because of a lot of like American traditional sports. They have the franchise structure, and they are a fan of like their home state or whatever, right, or their home city. But like in practice, I definitely don't think so because I think you guys are right. Like it may not really turn down the high turnover rate and like how frequent teams change. So like we're still gonna have the main complaint, which is like I can't be a fan of a team when the team changes all the time. I think that would still happen. I think that's just kind of the nature of a fast-paced esport that is a small team.
100%. Teams would still change their roster as long as they were able to. Like if the roster change, like whole thing, the point system was still all the same, they would still change just as much. I think going into after the winter split, there's still going to be team changes. Like it's going to just keep happening unless like franchising decided to bring in this rule that you can only change in the off season and you have to play with the same roster for 9 months. That's the only way that it would actually work. Also, some people in chat were bringing up, or some people were asking, what is franchising? It's basically where an org will pay an a large amount of money to be in a league. So they will pay 10, 15, 30 million dollars, depending on what game it is, to have a spot in a league, and they can do whatever they want with that spot. If I'm an org, Rizzo Esports, I buy a spot, $15 million. I am now in RLCS. I can sign my players and do whatever I want.
And that would
And
be
they get to play each
pocket
week,
change,
you know.
pocket change for Rizzo. It's not even a big deal. Like, he could just do that, like, if he wanted to.
Yeah, Rizzo
But
Esports. top org.
in RLCS, like the easiest like way to understand franchising in RLCS would be, imagine that there's the same 16 orgs competing in North American regionals every single time.
No
it's the same
qualifiers.
16 orgs, no qualifiers. Like you've always got NRG, you've always got G2 if they've bought in. Like whichever 16 orgs have bought in, they play every regional no matter what. And the best team that they can field whoever they want. Like the org just they'd probably field their best team, but maybe not. Maybe
the other thing with that is that, like, I don't know if we sort of brought this up, but say if you're a big content, the good thing about Nolly talks about these guys aren't these guys are leaving even if they're getting good results, but it's still fully results based at the way that sort of players for the most part go, right? If you're what I'm sort of getting at, if it's franchising and I'm Jazer, I'm good. I don't need to put in the time. Like, I'm fine because they're not going to get rid of me because say franchising for orgs, they're not looking to try and get the best players to get the best results because they want to stay in the league. They've got their spot. So if they want to, go for the content side of things, they're good. The players, if you're on a spot and you know that you're comfortable with the org and they're not going to get rid of you, you're fine because you're still going to be in that league. There's no chance of you guys not qualifying for regionals and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of pros might practice less because it would be so comfortable if you're
pros would
in a
hate
good spot.
That's what league
franchising.
play was.
Oh,
yeah.
they'd hate it. They'd hate franchising. If franchising happened, pros in the bubble would, and like pros who are like just outside of like good enough to make the initial like cut, they would hate it so much because now it's 10 times harder to get into these events. You can't qualify anymore. You need to get picked up by a team, and how on earth do you prove yourself if you're like not in
you
one of
have
these
to
teams
have an
already?
amateur league.
There'd have to be
like,
some sort of
academy,
ecosystem. Yeah. RLCS Academy, and then the same exact thing as like the way LCS or like all of League. Again, not even just LCS, but all of League.
I just don't see it at all. I don't see the point. I don't see any reason to do it. I don't see how anyone would find that more interesting than what we do now.
Well, we wouldn't have teams like Moist or Liquid or any of those teams that have made late season fights. Complexity wouldn't be able to make. Well, actually, Complexity would be able to make a cross-region move if the NA League picked up SAM players, but we wouldn't have had those mid-season, like through the qualifiers, come out of nowhere teams that are now some of the most popular teams out there.
I think all the fans, all the fans who say they want franchising, what they're saying is they don't want their team to break up. That they're watching.
They don't want their team.
You
to
might
fail to
actually be
qualify.
right.
Yeah, they don't want their team to fail to qualify, so they're like, I want franchising.
I feel like that's the SSG, like that's the space station thing. No matter how like broken that team is internally, it's like, but they're the boys. Like, like they break them up. And the reason I think as well that franchising it doesn't work in any esport, but the reason it works in regular sports, right, is because there's so many lower leagues. There's so many opportunities still. You look at America. Obviously, you've got the say basketball, NBA. You've got the college system. You've got so many different the lower G League stuff like that. You've got so many opportunities for these guys to get looked at and brought up. But if we have franchising Rocket League, the RLCS, we've got nothing below that. So it's the comparison I made the other day of like, you've got, it's basically like you say you've got the Premier League in soccer. There's nothing below that. It's like, but I saw this kid down in the favelas in Brazil absolutely popping off. Let's put him on the team. Like, there's no opportunity.
There's an Adam Sandler movie similar to that I just watched.
There's no opportunity to pick up these guys and put them on a top team because there's nothing below. If franchising could only work if you had you had like a school system, you had the college system, you had like a G League or whatever they have.
B League, C League.
Are you guys familiar with MLB at all? Baseball?
No.
Yeah. I don't know how it works, but I knew it was baseball.
There's MLB, that's the top league. Then there's a top league, AAA league right under, AA league right under, and then a single A league. There's 4 leagues for baseball.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's more. I don't even know. But that's what I know. Yeah.
I feel like 4. You guys
I think you'd end up
see how many
having
leagues
even
football
more
has.
roster changes with franchises too, by the way, because then orgs, all orgs are dumb. There's some that are smart enough to understand that and let players have a lot of control.
What you mean, Yumi, is that
out.
there's some orgs who know that they're dumb and they're okay.
Yeah,
with it.
exactly. Yeah, but what ends up happening when you've got these players, you end up playing like trading cards. Oh, I'm bored of this guy. I've seen him for 6 months. Let's go trade him off with this. And it would just end up being like revolving musical chairs throughout the league, I feel like.
It's just grass is greener. People always want what they don't have.
Yeah.
And now for some reason, like people think that league would be a good idea. I can't like that's like unless if we think franchising is way too crazy, like the easiest way to think about it would be, okay, league play was sort of in a way like mini like short-term franchising because you qualify for like the league. Okay, now you play in the league for half a year. You're in RLCS for half a year. You don't have to keep qualifying every event. So that's like one step towards franchising. We went away from that because nobody liked the league anymore. We were like, nah, this would be way cooler if it was open. But because grass is always greener on the other side, now that we've got an open circuit, and I think it's the best that Rocket League's ever been, best format Rocket League's ever had.
Yeah.
People like, it's been so long since we had a league. Tons of fans have come in since the league. Distant history for them. They've never even known a league. So they're like, yeah, Rocket League with a league system would be pretty good, right? For me, it's crazy that that's even a discussion. I can't.
Some of the pros in EU especially got so lazy when all you had to do was not come dead last.
Yeah, all you had to
league.
do is not like get relegated. You just
Yeah.
practice for the relegation tournament. You're like, boom, you're in RLCS for another 6 months, even though
It's
you're
it's
not
like that
top 10.
it's like that story of, you know, two guys running away from a bear. Like, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. Like, as long as I'm not last, boys, we're safe. We're here for another.
That's
100%.
That's why EU like suddenly like RLCS Season X happened. All the top teams like were gone except Vitality. Every team except Vitality gone. They all fell off because they actually were not the top teams, but they just couldn't all get relegated every season, so they were clinging on. Like so many players and so many teams are just hanging on every season by not getting relegated. That another team would get relegated. So I don't know. The league, I don't see how it would be better than what we've currently got. What we've currently got is like so close to perfect.
The level of play is crazy now compared to league play. As you said, we had such a differential. Like, you'd have one RLRS team coming up and then just going 0-8. Like, you know, shout out to Splice. I'm not going to name names. But and then it just ruins the whole season. You get one bad team, ruins the whole season. But no, let's keep funneling new teams in. If you're good enough, if you want a team with your boys who you've been playing with since you were 12, now 3 years later you get a chance to qualify. Like, get in there and see if you can get in there and get picked up. Like, there's so many more fairy tale stories, but also the teams at the top are teams that are still working and hungry. You know what I mean? Like, it breeds consistency.
Okay, we segued a long time about franchise. Does anybody? I want to go back to roster rumors, but before that, does anybody have any final thoughts on franchising they want to share?
L.
Okay, great. I don't think we talked about AJ. AJ. Actually, I don't think he's off of FaZe yet, but he has been benched by FaZe. I don't know if he ever actually got off the roster.
Yeah, they tweeted the FaZe. What did they tweet? Hold on, I've got it here. FaZe tweeted something. They tweeted that. No, that link is wrong. I've just linked
August 23rd. They said, effective today, AJ has been moved from the starting roster to the bench. He remains under FaZe Clan as we evaluate our options moving forward. So they're looking for another option, but there are also rumors of AJ joining Rlcs, and they're looking for a third.
How did I manage to do this? Like, instead of linking the tweet, I just made a link to the FaZe Twitter page.
The entire Twitter page.
It just goes to their Twitter page. I was like, aha, let me pull up the tweet, and never mind, it's just their homepage. Continue. But yeah, I think that seems pretty obvious what's happening here is that they've, you know, they can only announce that they've benched him, but it's pretty clear that he's gonna leave, based on the rumors and the leaks.
What does it mean to bench somebody? Like,
Sub.
doesn't it just mean we pre-kicked you? Like,
yeah, it's basically a pre-kick. Yeah,
actually,
it is kicking somebody while still maintaining power to the org to stop them from moving to a new org without giving them money.
And they probably still pay him.
And
right?
you know what the worst part is about being on being benched or like a part of the bench contract, whatever it's considered, is usually a lot of times, and I don't know if this is AJ's situation or FaZe's situation, but an org can write a clause saying, like, if you are on the bench, you will receive a lot less salary. So, you know, their salary could be a 6-figure salary, and then they go to the bench and their salary is like $5K for the year or something like that. So they could pay them. They could get away with paying them for like $500 a month or something like that. That's happening.
Even though they don't have a new team yet, and so First Killer and the boys will be getting full salary doing nothing, whilst AJ's doing exactly the same thing and not getting paid.
Exactly.
Why don't you just bench your whole
been
team in the offseason?
That has happened before. And that's why people, like there was an org in RLCS who just completely like went under new management. Nobody trusted them, and then they went under new management, and people were like, okay, like we'll give them a chance.
Wow.
Because they benched their whole team during the offseason, and they paid them like 10% of their actual salary. So it's possible, and it's
I've heard orgs before being like, well, you're not playing right now. Why would I pay you? Like sort of thing.
Exactly.
No tournaments.
This is why we don't want to give orgs
these people more power.
No.
Give them power.
This is what I'm saying. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's not happening. So AJ benched. It's rumored that he's looking for a third with Rlcs. Rlcs has made YouTube videos with Drees and Magic Bear, so clearly they're the front runners.
We figured it all out.
Meanwhile, Roldays put Mist above AJ in his top 25 players list for this season, current, and he also leaked Mist trying out for FaZe. We can fill the blanks. We know what's happening here. So yeah, that's basically NA in a nutshell. We've already talked about LJ and Rlcs and SSG. I think that's pretty much all of North America.
Yeah, so let's actually think about like what are your thoughts on these rumors? So Red's off SSG, and now LJ is the replacement. So you have LJ, Daniel, Arsenal. What are you guys like? Upgrade, downgrade?
I think it's got to be an upgrade, but not because I think LJ is gonna outperform Rlcs by a significant margin. But based on what Arsenal was writing on, or no, what he said in his Twitter video, seemed like the vibes of that team were just not working in practice. So they need something fresh. So I gotta think it's an upgrade for that reason.
I think a mechanical upgrade. It's time will tell whether it's like a full-on upgrade for the team, but I would expect so.
I don't know. The NA boys might have more on LJ because if you talk to T-Bates, he's literally the best player in the world. But he's. I haven't seen enough yet, and performance-wise, as a team, obviously Oxygen wasn't the greatest. So who do you have any?
I think I totally agree with Johnny. We saw a space station that got kind of revitalized by Dan, and I think just it took a lot of pressure off them. They had a player leave, and they had to fill his shoes with a rookie, and they started having a little bit of fun, and things went a lot better. Obviously, this situation's a little bit different, but I agree. I think sometimes just shaking things up, get a new player in,
I like seeing NA go for the young talent as well, though.
Yeah,
this is cool because it's something NA hasn't done as much until recently, and it is cool to see it now happening because that's the way to go. Like get the young talent in. Like Nolly was saying, instead of players just teaming with their friends, team with the better player.
Yeah.
So I think Rlcs is still really good. I think he's gonna probably strangely benefit from this as well, because if the situation was bad in Arsenal's estimation for them, then it was probably bad for Rlcs as well. And maybe he just didn't want to admit it, or maybe he just didn't think that it was bad enough to do anything about it. And he's like, oh, I'm kicked. Well, now I have to do something about this. So yeah, he's obviously going to get a team. I think he's going to get a good team. I think Rlcs is far from done, far from washed. I think he played really well at Worlds.
He was peaking, wasn't he? He has mech now.
Yeah, I think Rlcs he's going to be fine. But yeah, LJ is sick. He's not as good as T-Bates tells you he is, but he's a really good player. He's got a lot of potential. And I think that Arsenal, it's going to be an interesting one because Arsenal might just be marked by 8 now. Maybe he's just going to run rampant in the midfield, let LJ and Daniel chill in defense until he messes up the other team enough for them to do something.
What about then the missed on FaZe Fear? What have you got from us there? That's a potential, obviously, that Roldies has sort of fully leaked 8 times now. In terms of that pickup, it's obviously it's a different sort of type of player from what an AJ was. How do you think that's going to go? At Fear.
I think I defer to the players. I expect all of these moves to be upgrades where 2 players are moving somebody else out. Because have there been examples of any of that going really wrong? I would think that with how well FaZe has done and how well SSG with Rlcs had done, if they're kicking these guys out for people like Mist and LJ, they they know something. They know something I don't, whether it looks like they're right or not. So I would expect them to be better. I expect any team making that kind of move to improve. Otherwise, they're making huge mistakes. But these players know best is basically what I defer to. So I expect them to be better.
That's a really good point, though. So, like, were any of the so let's think North America because we're talking NA. Were any of the NA roster moves in the last RLCS season bad, or did any of them fail? Because they kind of all did seem to work. Like SSG with Daniel was an improvement. You had V1 with Beast Mode is a big improvement. G2 Atomic, big improvement.
Yeah.
I guess Envy was the only one that went down. Envy went down, but
they didn't want that roster move.
Was FaZe SIP an improvement though? Because they won one regional and came fourth at LAN with Illusion, and then the next split with Sypical, they didn't win any regionals and they came fourth at LAN.
They went sideways.
Yeah, I think it was like sideways or marginally worse, I'd say. I don't think they improved. I think they just continued coming fourth and yeah, didn't go up. I think they were kind of the same.
Envy went down, but it wasn't their fault. They lost Atomic. So
they lost a
they
player
didn't initiate that. Yeah, they didn't initiate that one. I don't know. FaZe was sideways move. Illusion is Sypical.
No, I think that they became more consistent. It's just people expected them first place always, but they just became more consistent because they got like 12th place finishes, but they didn't get that with SIP, I don't think.
I think they had one like.
They did actually finish 12th, and they finished 12th in London. They finished 12th in London.
Oh, I'm talking about regionals.
Yeah, I don't know. The regionals were kind of comparable. I don't know if it was better. Well,
the
results weren't better.
Place in the third split, the final split, right?
Yeah, well, the reason I bring it up for FaZe is because, like, okay, if anything, you could argue that their move for Sypical gave marginally better results. I could see that. But I think you could also argue it was sideways. I think there's a debate there. But
someone made a good point there. It might not be whether your team's better. It's whether you made the other teams worse. You consolidated the talent.
That's true.
You broke up other teams.
Yeah. But actually, they made Space Station better because Space Station definitely did better with Daniel. So that was, if anything, a bad move to get Sypical because you improved SSG and you went sideways. But I mean, they've still kept him. So clearly, like long term, they rate him. But do you guys think Mist is going to be an improvement? It's tough. Like FaZe, they set a high bar right out the gate. Right?
That is really tough.
The fall split, like this season, they did really well with Illusion. They have a high bar for success.
AJ is a really hard person to fill as well.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how those three play together.
Well, obviously, Mist is just going to sit in net and like get the most saves per game of any player in the league, and First Killer is gonna like ball chase and try and do everything, and then Sypical is also gonna be mega defense. I think First Killer just wants players who are gonna sit back and let him run the show.
Let me work, bro.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like he wants to be the best player. He wants everybody to call him the best player in the world. He wants to prove he's the best player in the world. He thinks he's the best player in the world. He's the most confident, one of the most confident players. I don't know if that's going to work, though. I feel like that's the opposite. Personally, I feel like that's the opposite of what First Killer needs. He needs like a Mark by 8. He needs like an Arsenal. He needs somebody who's in front of him, and he can play off that. I don't know why he wants to run the show like on ball.
Let's simplify this. Who do you think is better, AJ or Mist?
That's close. I'd say AJ personally. AJ's a more complete player. Mist is better for like certain teams, certain like situations, but AJ's more complete.
So I've got a theory on like the Mist sort of like goalkeeping situation. He's very good save. I always felt that the people that are always making the last ditch saves, I feel like that's a positioning. Like you're not getting there in time to make it. You're making it harder for yourself. I feel like Mist makes it harder for himself, and it looks more impressive. If that makes sense. Like he's always
I know what you mean.
So deep that he's always having to make saves rather than sort of stopping it in midfield. Like
rather than challenging. Yeah,
he's defaulting net. Yeah, he's defaulting net and making these saves. But is that because he's like positionally not like pushing up enough or cutting off in midfield? Like I always found that this is sort of like back in like say season for like ages ago, the people that were the slower rotators were the people that got more saves because they were sort of like just getting there in time, or they were defaulting in net and being too passive. You know what I mean? Like you sort of see it in pressure situations in game sevens when people started sitting net. It's just all of a sudden it's just everyone like, oh my God, I can't get that. I need to stay in net and then make saves. I wonder. I always just find, I don't know. Miss, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, let us know, Mist.
Ratio.
Wait. So, okay. Clearly, Farskiller is trying to make a super team, and he has been forever. He's like going through so many different options. None of them are the team he wants. He's getting there. You know, he's sticking with Sypical for now. Who knows how long that's going to last? Maybe Sypical's in the chopping block at the end of the fall split this season for someone else. He'll try a different iteration. If you guys could make Farstkiller's super team, who do you put on Farstkiller's team to help him like get the results that you so clearly want? He wants to be number one. He wants to be the best player in the world.
Just NA?
Yeah. Let's keep it NA for now. All of NA. What is the NA super team for Farstkiller? Is it Sypical Mist? Maybe it is. Maybe somebody thinks it is. But what do you guys think?
Wait, we could pick anybody?
Anyone in NA, yeah. Because clearly Farstkiller is trying to make a super team, and he needs some help because it's not worked. It's never worked so far. He's done loads of different options. They haven't worked. Yeah. Who are the best two players?
Daniel Beast Mode.
Farstkiller, the best player in the world.
Daniel Beast Mode. Yeah.
I don't know. Is it though? Is it? Because Daniel's super defensive, and Beast Mode's kind of defensive as well.
Johnny,
I don't know if it is.
Playstyle doesn't matter.
I think it does. I would argue it does. But you can tell me why you think it doesn't matter. I'll listen.
Players, yeah, you'll listen.
Yeah, Beast Mode is. I think Beast Mode is defensive.
Players will be able to adapt. All these players are very good, obviously, but players will be able to adapt to their teammates. Like if you put them on a team for long enough, they'll be able to figure out each other's tendencies and play around their tendencies. They're not.
But
stuck,
why have they not stuck with AJ then? They've benched him.
Why have they not?
You have to ask Farstkiller that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not running the roster.
I mean, when you explain it, like they're gonna stick together, they're gonna figure each other out. It sounds like it makes sense and it sounds really simple, but clearly it's not because
what Rizzo's saying, and I agree, is that you can make a team based off 3 really good players, and they might not immediately gel, but eventually they'll figure it out.
Well,
and
do you guys think every player is flexible? I would argue that some players are not flexible at all, and they do the same play style every team that they're in. They don't really change what they do much, and other players are very flexible.
Some players aren't flexible, but I think any team that is willing to work it out will figure it out. But there's no way to really know unless you're playing on that team. But if you're looking purely at gameplay, on paper, whatever, like those are the players that you're gonna look for. Those 3.
They're the biggest. Okay, you've gone for the biggest like star quality possible.
Yeah.
But I think that's like a risk because they kind of had that with AJ.
I'm not running the org, Johnny. I'm not thinking about the risk.
Yeah, but I still asked you your dream team, and you gave me a team that I think is risky, so I'm calling you out on it. Like I think clearly they did that with AJ's typical first. 3 ridiculously mechanical players, star power through the roof, and it didn't work. So why try that again when you've got 3 players who are kind of defensive? Well, I don't know how I describe Farstkiller. He's kind of like a midfield guy, but I think like I want to see Farstkiller play with an Illusion type player. That seemed to work really well. Like a player who wasn't anywhere near as good mechanically, but playstyle was perfect.
They got 12th place in regionals, and then as soon as they got rid of Illusion and they replaced with Sip, they didn't get 12th place. They got 4th every time, I'm pretty sure.
But they also didn't win.
8th.
They also didn't win, but they improved all the results and they had the consistency.
No, I'm not saying Illusion is the guy. I wouldn't put Illusion in my dream team.
Okay.
But I think like Illusion, like esque kind of player, like who's gonna be like ball chasing. He's gonna be like 50-50ing.
Getting 23 demos a game versus
RBG.
Yeah,
just like you're just gonna be messing him up. You know, he's gonna be driving about doing stuff on the ball and pressuring, and not like sitting in net. I don't think that sitting in net type of player is what Farstkiller needs. I might be wrong, but I'm just trying to.
If you don't like Farstkiller Daniel Beast Mode, what's your Farstkiller super team?
Who? Okay. It's much easier. It's much easier if I'm allowed to use EU players because EU players are more.
No, you said sticking to NA only.
You gotta go to NA, mate.
And 2 BDS players.
EU players are more aggressive, so it's much easier with EU players. But okay, if I have to use NA players, let's see. Like Kama is a good option. I think he would be a good.
Why
player
is
to go
Kama
with Farstkiller? Because he's gonna like get in front of Farstkiller on every play, and he's gonna demo. He's gonna steal boost. He's gonna 50-50 a bunch. He's gonna be annoying. And then Farstkiller is going to have more opportunities to just play the ball against no one because Calm will create chaos. I like Calm as a player for him. I also like Arsenal's playstyle. I like Rlcs' playstyle to go with him. But I don't think Rlcs. I think maybe I'm going to go Calm and... okay, your second player could be defensive. I'll probably go Beast Mode. Calm Beast Mode. Just switch Farstkiller in for Torment. That's my Farstkiller dream team.
Wait, Beast Mode Torment Calm?
What?
No, sorry. Did I say?
Oh, okay.
I switch Farstkiller for Torment.
Okay.
Just pick V1 after all that.
I meant like put
I
Farstkiller
really
in V1.
like V1.
Put him instead of Torment on V1. That's my dream team.
I don't agree that beast mode's a third man. I think that some players are forced into positions based on what their team is doing. I know that, like, say, this is inside scoop. Speaking of beast mode's dad at Worlds, he was saying that there was a bit of trouble in terms of he found himself getting stuck third a lot and didn't want to be. He wanted to be that aggressive player. So I think that some people might still yet to have fully, shown where they're most comfortable. It's just maybe the team environment makes me like, oh, well, Beast Mode always wants to be third because he's always third man. But maybe that's just a tendency of V1 rather than him as a player. So maybe if you put him on a first killer, Daniel B mode team, you'll see sort of Daniel, the player that likes to sort of let the situation happen. And then you got B mode, like how he has done downfield, going for the redirects, trying to be the new age a lot, like, oh my god, where's he come from? Why is he on their corner? Stuff like that. And then first killer run around the midfield.
It's a shame we could never have these teams play each other because we picked the same players.
But I think that a lot of these players will adapt depending on what their team requires. And I think the best players are the most flexible. Rather, some are one tricks like myself. I have to be aggressive or I can't defend, as Yumi would know. So I think the best players adapt.
What do you guys think about complexity?
Oh yeah, because complexity rumored to get CRR.
I think it's more than a rumor too, because Razebull and CRR have been duoing for like the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, for basically a month now.
CRR played
awesome.
in my tournament this weekend with the complexity tag, so in-game tag.
He played with. That's funny. I think it's very interesting. Like having.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
having like international moves like that is so sweet. Yeah. Such a cool thing to see for the esport. I feel like that just means it's like growing, really.
And also, it's just great because it's a Spanish-speaking team playing in North America from a Spanish player and two Argentinian and Chilean.
One Argentinian and Chilean.
All like coming together to play in NA and take down the North American frogs.
I love it. I hope they do. I'm so excited. I think CRR is like still not on the mainstream radar. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of fans that don't realize how much talent he has. So I'm excited to see him with a good supporting cast if the rumors do become true.
That's kind of a topic then. We say League of Legends with NA League because NA sucks at video games. We say with a lot of other esports, the potential for the future of Rocket League being that players/teams are moving to worse regions rather than Sam where complexity we're moving to better regions. Let's say that, we all infiltrate NA. We all infiltrate OCE. Forky comes down. We infiltrate APAC. What do you guys think about not having, teams from their, respective countries or origins going to, filling up spots from lesser regions? What is, because that could definitely be something that's on the radar. Obviously, now we have, Forky rumored to be down in OCE. Obviously, he doesn't have a team yet, but, hypothetically,
it's definitely happening.
Guys going to, stuff like that. What do you guys think about potentially not having 5 NA teams? Obviously, complexity didn't, they did take a spot, but, having, say, like OCE now having like NA teams coming down that are those 7, 8, or maybe 6, 7 just out of it, taking the OCE spots like we do with League with NA. Sort of want to get out.
I completely understand like why a player like say just say like an NA team, say a whole NA team moved to OCE to go play or something. I completely understand why they would do that, but I hate the idea of moving to a weaker region just to get a spot in like Worlds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the addition of 3 or 4 brand new ones. These players haven't had the structure that NA players have had in the past. So
yeah, I'm less worried about
just to go to Worlds, even though you don't get to go to majors.
Yeah, true.
The established ones, the ones that have been in like OCE and NA and EU and South America, the ones that have been around for a while, I feel like you can't even move and jump in. I wouldn't think there are tons of players you could just move and take over anyways. What worries me is the idea of people maybe like going to APAC, these brand new regions, and those are regions that you could probably go take over and kind of ruin that environment a bit. So I'd be worried. I don't think that's really happening that bad. But as far as like complexity becoming like basically a not North American team, has some EU players and everything, I'm not worried about that. That should be, I'm fine with that kind of movement.
Does it ruin a region though, or would it potentially elevate a region in terms of like, you know, future growth, having better players in that region?
Well, I know APAC North, when they first started, it was almost like a lack of growth and like practice or anything from a lot of the Japanese teams, because they were like, realize this team's unbeatable. And it probably could have been a much better start to APAC and APAC North had those teams not felt that way. And I have a feeling that if there is a big old super team in that region, we could see the same thing. I think it's a little 50-50, or we could see those teams practicing really hard against that one team and getting a lot out of it. So I don't think it's really clear cut, to be honest.
I think it depends. If a team is just like sort of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with CS, but sort of the OC Renegades a lot of the time, they're like they used to anyway, live over in America and then fly in for the OCE tournament to qualify, then fly back. I think that'd be a problem in, say, APAC. If you had a team just come into APAC purely to play the regionals, they weren't playing ranked, they weren't scrimming, you know, they were just coming in, playing the regionals, get in, get out, and then just using that as a qualification spot, because then you're not improving the region. But if these guys were actually there, you know, for the whole split, you know, for say for the 3 splits, or they were there for the split at least, they were scrimming against other teams, playing that in that rank system, then I'm actually think that can only in the long term sort of make the region better.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, only flying in for regionals, that would be mega cringe. I'm not gonna lie. I never even thought about that.
Just
but
flying in, because how long would that take if you wanted to do
EU
that?
teams and then just flying over to APAC real quick and then playing the regional, leaving again?
How long would it even take to fly from like from OCE to APAC and be like officially in APAC and be able to play?
APAC South, you could get there in like 8 hours. APAC North, 12 hours. Probably even less for APAC South, depending on where you live.
I think realistically, how much would that cost the org to like do that, and then how much are they really getting back out of it? Like, it's not really.
If you buy flights ahead of time, it's not even like it wouldn't be anywhere near as expensive. As usually flights end up costing a ton when we fly to lands, because they leave it till 2 days before, and they're like, okay guys, we got to buy your flights, and they're all booked out, so we're gonna put random people on business. But if you planned it properly, if all of the dates are right, it wouldn't be as expensive.
If you're good enough as well, like if you're a good enough team, I mean, you like for, say, SSA and APAC, you're getting a guaranteed major spot and world spot if you're good enough, just because like purely the infancy, there's like nothing on SSA and APAC, just like where they are as a region right now. They're too new, yeah. So you could have an established team from North America, Europe come over, and you could guarantee a spot. So if an org wanted to do that, it'd be possible. I think it'd just be that, because I know you need to have residency in the country, but it's a little bit airy fairy. I think it's like sort of up to Sonic's discretion what that actually is. Like, I think
I hope it's quite. I hope it's stricter.
I think they'd want you to be in the country for the like at least the 3 regionals. For example, like stay there rather than like constantly just popping in for a weekend every 2 weeks. I feel like that is certainly crossing a line somewhere.
That's cringe.
That being said, if they were stuck there for whatever 6 weeks, right? If they were sitting there for 6-7 weeks playing, there's also the effect that they're going to be getting a lot worse practice and they're going to be falling behind. So maybe they'll get to the majors, but have a little issue when they get to the majors or worlds.
I hope it's stricter. I hope that this is not possible.
I
hope what we're discussing is not possible or not feasible at all. I hope that
I think there are players moving to APAC, by the way, for this season.
What level of like how is that all you can say?
I think they'll be good enough to make a major, to make majors.
Oh wow.
Holy yummy cheese man leak. So now it's obviously we have the 4 Cooper, so there's a real possibility that there are better players or better region players moving to emerging regions for spots. That's sort of where we've got, which is kind of crazy that we have got to that, because it has, it's always been players going to better regions to improve themselves. But now we're like, righto, we've established that we've got certain, amount of spots for majors, certain amount of spots for worlds. The competition is so good. Let's try and make it easier for ourselves. Let's go. So this could be
let's just go and have a chance. Let's just go and qualify. It's literally the retirement home now for some players. So
yeah,
be like, oh well.
I think it's
I can't
great
it anymore.
that North America are good, because in Rocket League, because in League of Legends they had to introduce rules on the number of imports you can have, so that they couldn't have all EU and OC and etc. rosters playing in North America. I don't think that'll happen in Rocket League, but maybe one day. Because moving to North America is still very valuable in terms of money. The money's bigger in North America than Europe. So I think that's also another reason for people to move over at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, all RLCS cares about is residency, like wherever you're living.
Okay. And there's no like duration stayed in that location, or is there?
Yeah, define residency.
I don't even think it's like a full residency, honestly. I think what CJ said is possible. Like, you could literally fly to the region.
As long as you're there.
Yeah.
But are you living there? It's more like you're a tourist there completely if you're going there for 3 days.
I mean, you're playing on their servers. You're playing. I don't know. I don't think they've really considered that. Like what CJ said, I've not considered that ever.
You need a permanent residency? That's not true.
You don't need a visa either.
Usually residency is like you have like a power bill or something. Like you have something from that region.
Power?
Like in
Forky?
Or like
sorry.
Wait, an invoice from Power? I'm paid by Power. I'm permanent resident in OCE. No, I think you usually need like some sort of document like that you have lived there at least for like a month. Like obviously visas would be like the very extreme side of things. You have a full on visa there, but yeah, I don't know. It's certainly a can of worms that I don't know if Psionics are fully prepared for, if I could say that. But maybe they're just like, who cares? Like, it's cool. Like, it does bring, as we said, Fork at OCE brings, excitement, I guess, to at least these regions. And it makes people talk about, the possibilities. It's bringing eyes. So if we have moves to APAC, is it bringing more eyes to APAC? In Psionics' view, is that just all they care about? You know what I mean? It probably is.
But if Forky's move sounds fine. Like, he's out there, he's not just like you said, flying out for the regionals and then going home. Like practicing, existing in one region and then just qualifying in a different one. Like I think it sounds fine if you're actually going out there, actually operating as an entire split or an entire season in one.
Wasn't Sigums like that?
No, he lived in Japan already, didn't he?
Yeah, he lived there for military.
This is from Direct. He said the rule specifically says the tournament in all parts is open to eligible players who reside in the eligibility area, but is void wherever restricted or prohibited by applicable law, or in any country where participation is prohibited by U.S. law. Whatever that means.
Still reside. What's reside mean? Like,
I think reside makes it even more.
Yeah, it's very vague.
You could just be there for 3 days, but I know that Homie was talking about it because he was trying to get people in for his team that he was coaching. So when he refers to permanent residency, he doesn't mean permanent residency. He means they have to live there. Permanent residency is like a very specific governmental thing.
Yeah, residency would be a lot different than permanent residency.
Shice and Nish said main place of residence, but what is main? You could just go there for 3 days.
Yeah, main place of residence
is my home.
Is not permanent residency. Don't use the term permanent residency, homie. Just say that's where you're living. Like,
but isn't main place of residence? What is that? Not just like where your official address is, but you don't actually have to be there.
I'm residing in this area. Like, there's just a different way to say it.
And you could be away from home more often than not. So it can't just be like where you are for more of the year, because you could just be like, well, I'm traveling a lot. But trust me, I'm only home for 1 week a year, but it is my main place of residence. So I think it's very up there. I think teams could easily argue, that is their main place of residence, because that's where they're that's where their foundation is, where their core, where they.
But yeah, you've got to be careful, of course, because making like really strict rules, and then somebody does have to go back to a certain place because of circumstances, and then now you can't play when you arrive back because you weren't there long enough. Like it's a difficult one. It's not just as simple as let's make it that players have to be there for the entire split and you can't leave the country. Like, you can't just do that. What if somebody has to go because of a family matter, and then they come back and now you can't play because you left? Like, I don't know. The solution is tricky.
I think it does sound like Sonic's. It's up to Sonic's interpretation. It's not like there's a massive loophole there. Sonic's when they get asked, "Hey, can we play in this region? I'm going to be there every second week." It's just magically on the same weekend that the actual regionals are on. Can I play? They'll probably be like, "No, it's our tournament, our rules. We enforce it." It's not loopholeable.
You'd hope that have chatted to Sonics and gone through it like anyone that's doing that, making sure it's A-OK, or they've got like outlined, as Rizzo said, like you're not just fly in, fly out. Like as long as they've outlined you have to be there for the whole split, or you have to be there, you have to have a home, or you have to be a certain visa or something like that. Whatever it is clear. So as you said, we don't have these people like, I'm playing here and then Regional 1, Sonic's guys is like, no, you're not. Go home. Like that's not where you are. So hopefully it's all cleared out. But it could be a bit more work for Sonics.
We should probably fly through the rest of the EU rosters.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if there's any final thoughts on this residency thing or NA in general, we can. If there's any final thoughts.
Rizzo, CJ, we heading to SSA or what's the deal?
The three of us?
Yeah, come on.
That's content. Let's do it. I'm in.
I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to see that roster form.
So we talked briefly about the Nolly leaving. That was, I don't know what the state of that one is or the official status of it, but rumored that Astral and Nolly leave KC. Was that been an org announcement or a player announcement or something, or is that just rumored at this moment?
Astral and Nolly, I'm pretty sure that's a rumor.
Pretty sure that's a rumor that Astral and Nolly are leaving, but based on Nolly's tweet that he just put out about franchising, it's pretty clear that might actually be more than a rumor. And then you had another rumor that Nolly what was it? Oh yeah, Nolly's like he was DMing someone. I think it accidentally got shown that he was trying to team with Appjack or something. I can't remember.
It was something on Reddit that he was mentioning Dignitas. So people are reading between the lines that Jack might be looking to get off Dignitas and stuff like that.
Jack Nolly. What do you guys think about Jack Nolly? Is that smart?
Could be.
I like it. Depends on the third, but I like it.
They're both English.
There you go.
They both speak.
It works.
Speak English.
They're boys.
As long as they don't pick up a French player, because that's not going to last longer than a split. So they just got to pick up another English-speaking player, somebody who doesn't speak French or Spanish, or else you never know what happens after one split. That player plays really well. But yeah, there was also tied into the Nolly Appjack potentially teaming together rumor. Dignitas. Well, we all kind of expected Dignitas to just completely disband, and now it's rumored that they are completely disbanding. That's not surprising, is it? After the end of the season?
No, I don't think so. Not even about the end of the season. I just feel like
no, the whole second half of the season actually.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it was kind of a given. I think it's just if you've just been looking a little bit.
Is Jack rumored to stay on Dignitas? Is the new Dignitas team going to be Nolly plus?
We don't know.
I was going to say, I feel like not only has the team disbanded, it looks like the whole org itself is disbanded with all the layoffs and stuff. So.
All the tape on their sponsors and all that stuff. That was looking pretty rough. I mean, I think the biggest thing, though, is Nolly and Jack. It seems pretty good on paper, but having it really depends on the third, because you can have a bad third and it could not really just work out. G2's done that with me. Renegades has done that with CJ. And it's just been this constant thing where teams just can't find that right third, and it just is a detriment to the team. So we can help them out.
We can fix this. Who should they get? This is our time to shine. Who should Nolly and Jack get as the third?
There's this guy Jorias who's pretty good. I think he doesn't have a team.
Yeah, he doesn't have a team. Okay.
Cash.
Turbo.
Cash and Turbo.
Cash does have a team, though. Cash has announced his team.
Yeah, but there's no org, so you can just take him.
You can just take him. True. You could just take Yoink Cash from the
that's not a bad idea.
Team. Okay, that might be the top idea at the moment.
What if they pull someone from Mina?
I like it.
That's tough though,
because who's available?
That's tough because they're all in good teams now. Like Roas, Kaliers, and Naupo just teamed together in Mina, and
yeah.
Basil replaced.
Senzo's on a team, but does he have an org? Senzo has good English.
Yeah,
That's the
they
only
do.
reason I say that.
Senzo and SMW and
Veloce.
Basil are with Veloce.
Oh, that is with Veloce. Okay.
And I think they're all pretty I think all the Mina players are pretty comfy in Mina, not going to lie. I think they're having a good time over there. I don't think they're going to leave to go to a lesser region like Europe.
Yeah, true.
Well, I think with the Moist situation, it sort of opens up. You've got sort of the Rise Joy on one side, and you've got the App Jack,
The Jack
on
Nolly,
the other
yeah.
side. There could be a sort of a form in there. I know that the latest rumor mill is Archie. I'm sure that we'll probably talk in a sec. Archie to Moist to replace Vatira. But I think it seems for me, I'm really on the outside with this, but it seems to me that a lot of teams were sort of locked, and then the Vatira situation happened, and I feel like it's blown like EU back open again with sort of that domino effect.
Still
got Archie, Cash are the two top free agents. Everybody says.
Archie's rumored to be Moist.
You still potentially got Astral floating around as well.
Oh, of course, because Astral, along with Nolly, was off KC. They were rebuilding around Itachi, or rumored to be rebuilding around Itachi. But then there was another rumor that Astral's like being looked at by Vitality, and then another rumor that that's fallen through. So Astral's like the biggest question mark at the moment. But obviously, he has to go for a French team. Like he doesn't want to team with some English English players. What a ridiculous idea. Imagine that Vatira leaves. Astral's from Belgium, but yeah, he speaks French. Imagine that Vatira leaves. They just grab Astral.
I think the biggest thing, you guys are talking about how Vatira shook things up. I think just like Vatira in general, obviously, amazing player, stuff like that. But just like any team that was looking for a player regardless, they're going to like try to find that player. So like Vatira is like top cream of the crop, you know what I'm saying? But like if a player who was a step down became available, they would probably start hunting that player too, sort of thing. So it's like, I think Vatira opened up a lot of options, but I think a player besides Vatira would have done that as well. I think teams were just ready to make a change regardless.
Yeah. The other like biggest, or at least that I could see, the biggest name in terms of free agents going into, obviously like there's been bigger free agents since teams started like losing players, and players left teams and became a big player who's available. But Raziers was a player who even before the offseason started, everybody's talking about him as like one of the best options. I think it was like Raziers, Cash. They were the two biggest people in Europe. Everybody's talking about trying to wait and see where they land. And Raziers, hasn't he just like had his new team announced?
He did.
Yeah,
he is announced. He's teaming with it's Casio, Raziers, and Rizex.
Top blokes.
Top blokes.
Oh yeah, under top blokes.
So that's a surprising one for me, because I thought that surely Raziers would end up with Catalysm Ivan, who were staying together with EG, but yeah, he's gone with Rizex and Casio, so that's pretty cool. Very, very curious to see how that one ends up. And the other confirmed roster for today, well, at the moment, is the full Spanish roster of Mark, Dorito, and Atomic. So finally we know what Mark's next step is, which is really exciting. I think that's all of them. I think that's all the confirmed rosters. The Cash Eeks Relating Wave one that everybody's saying is now not confirmed because Cash is going to get yoinked as well.
Yeah, we'll see if that one sticks. But Mark, Dorito, Atomic, I'm super excited to see them. I'm really happy that Mark actually got off his org. Really happy that he was able to get out of there and find a spot on another team, because I feel like just being benched in general and being stuck in that spot is a horrible situation to be in. So I'm happy to see him being able to play.
We just gonna open this back up. We got the potential CRR to NA. Do we think there's any of the potential NA free agents that might fit with Afjack and Noli, since there would be no language issue?
I don't even know the possibility, I don't even know of like what NA players are free agents.
Maybe
like unrestricted. I'm thinking unrestricted.
I was gonna say Reddles.
Maybe all Rels. Imagine Rels and AJ's like all their tryouts, all their scrims that they've been doing are just trash, and they're like, nah, forget this, I'm going to Europe. Like, Rels and Nolly, get them in a team. That'd be the
Certainly.
funniest teammates.
It's certainly a possibility. I think that I know from sort of Abjack's gauging, chatting to him at Worlds was just sort of like he really just wants that team that it's less so about let's get the best player possible, but who's going to want to work the most? Who's going to want to put in the extra work? In terms of off the pitch as well, like replays, but also diet, nutrition. Like really wants.
He was first on the bus every day. He was on the earliest bus to go to practice at Worlds every day. No player was up before him.
I think it's more about who's gonna go that extra mile and really try and maybe experiment a bit more with stuff. As I said, nutrition, sleep, caffeine, stuff like that. Take it
double socks.
Exactly.
Double
Take it to the next level and see.
Have y'all heard him talk about that?
Double socks, no shoes.
Wait, who is
full
this?
Comfort.
Abjack talking about his double socks.
I think I've heard of it. Actually, yeah.
Does he take his shoes
that.
off?
No, he says double socks because when your feet are cold, there's more blood going down there. So he's going to keep his feet warm to keep his blood flow, I guess up top of the brain and everything.
You should wear slippers then. Yeah.
I wore slippers for the whole Worlds because I wanted my feet to be warmer and woolly socks. True.
It makes sense. You don't want the cold feet distracting you and taking blood away from the brain, as Jack has so obviously identified. But no, I like that. If you're not going to wear 2 pairs of socks, don't even bother messaging Jack about a spot in his team. You're not on the short list. You got to wear a minimum 2 pairs of socks. 3 is optional as well, but don't even try and wear 1 pair of socks. Oh, there was also, we forgot to mention another rumored roster of Vatira and Exotic to KC, which I think is super cool.
With Itachi.
Yeah, with Itachi, because they're supposed to be rebuilding around Itachi apparently, and yeah, if they grab Exotic and Vatira,
another French roster.
That's a super team. I've been waiting. I'm so glad that Exotic finally getting his time to shine. He's awesome, and for the longest time, for all of our LCS
Season
X. A lot of people
are underrating that team. A lot of people aren't as impressed as you, Johnny.
Oh, that's because people don't realize how good Exotic is. Even after a sick performance at Worlds, I thought he was awesome at Worlds. People still.
I put him
underrate
top 15. I thought he hard carried that team. He was incredible.
He definitely did.
He was awesome. But he was for all of our LCS Season X underperforming on a team that's underperforming. All of the start of this season on a team that's underperforming. Now finally he gets to be on a good team, and look what he does. He does in the world stage. So this is it makes sense to me. I think he's up there. I think Exotic's perfectly at that level to be on a world-class team.
I just want to say
an extra or someone.
Super Spicy Matt, the owner of Moist, said he's not impressed. Sad face in chat.
He's not impressed with Exotic Vatira.
He's not impressed.
It's actually.
But I think that's why people are less impressed. I mean, everyone's just comparing it to Moist, and Moist was so good.
Yeah.
They're like, is it as good as Moist though?
Yeah,
they feel like they're taking a risk.
Yeah, but Moist can't even maintain their roster, so.
Oh my days.
Oh no. What do you guys think about the decision to build around Itachi rather than Astral?
That's an interesting one, but I think that despite Astral being the star player on that team, he definitely was, in my opinion, the star player. I think Itachi's really, really good. I think Itachi's an awesome player, and if you can get someone like Vatira, an Exotic, then yeah, that looks like a pretty good team on paper. I mean, if I heard the 2 rosters, Vatira, Exotic, Astral, or Vatira, Exotic, Itachi, I think that both sound equally good to me. I don't think the Astral one sounds significantly better. But if a team lacked that X factor, that outplayability, then sure, maybe you need Astral instead of Itachi. But I don't think a team with Exotic and Vatira is going to lack that.
Yeah, agreed.
Is this the team that Zen is supposed to go to?
No, that's or what was it? Vitality were rumored to be grabbing Astral and Zen, and they were going to play. What was it? 2 splits with Radosin, Alpha, Astral, and then just bench one of them for Zen when Zen's old enough. Is that?
Yeah.
Have I got that right?
Okay, that's actually I think you have that right. But that's actually a really interesting concept. Think about from a player POV, joining a 3-man roster, but they have Zen on the bench, and they're like, okay, in 5 months Zen is coming in, perform. What is your expectation of that? I feel like that's so much pressure as a player to just be the star player. You don't want to give your other team credit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it could be even more tough because he's also had to wait around an extra year as well.
I think the the one roster change you haven't really talked about. I have to, not roster change, but potential move that's happened is that there's been a guy waiting in the wings for a while now. He's been sitting on the bench and he's just been getting hot again. He really just forgot how to play the game, but I reckon he's going to learn again and be an absolute freak. And that is Fairy Peak. He is officially off Vitality and he is hitting the ground running. Chaussette is a rumored duo looking for third. And I can't wait to see Fairy Peak back in action. It's not you.
I thought you were going to say Turbo.
I thought you were going to go Turbo.
I thought you were saying Forky.
I knew he was in chat. He's like, damn.
This is perfect though, because actually Fairy Peak and Chaussette are both French, and there's going to be a French player available right at the end of this season when they get benched from Vitality. So they've got top world class.
Oh, there you go. They got free
waiting.
pickings.
As soon as Vitality bench their third French player for Zen, boom, Fairy Peak and Chaussette sign him up. All they need is a placeholder for now. They could get literally anyone, and eventually you're going to replace him with the player who Zen replaces. It's a replacement chain.
So I get the impression that Zen is like doing tryouts right now. I obviously don't know any real details. If you're Zen, do you want to just wait anyways?
Oh no, Zen is above tryouts. Feer. He's above tryouts.
Okay, well,
Zen's like name value alone is.
But why would you pick if you're Zen? Like, why would you when you're as good as he is? Like, why don't you just wait until, because everybody wants you, right? Like we're saying, this guy's basically, you can go wherever you want. So why don't you just...
I wouldn't say everybody wants him, because I think most teams would rather have a consistent roster all season than make a last, split switch. But for Vitality, I think they're just trying to fully rebuild, so they don't have that luxury.
So you think when the split comes that Zen can play, that not any French team is thinking, I don't know if I like my third anymore now that Zen's available?
Well, who have we got? We've got BDS. I mean, I'm assuming that they're going to continue to have success. And then you've got the rumored Vatira exotic Itachi roster. And Itachi's Moroccan but speaks French, so he counts. I don't know if either of those teams would be like, Zen's a massive upgrade over one of our players.
I don't know. I've just heard the rumors is that like the French community, as in like the French players, put Zen like way up there, even above Vatira used to be, that kind of thing. So there's already a ton of respect for Zen. So he's pretty much just going to get a pick, right?
I mean, you can't just like, no, I don't think
pick
any
on
other
a team who's struggling.
I don't think any other team is planning for it, basically. But yeah, I see what you mean. Why would you sign the dotted line as Zen? I mean, I think as Zen, you've got to sign the dotted line. It's kind of like the Daniel situation. Like a top team offers you a spot, you got to take it, because you're going from nothing to RLCS, like top 5, just like that. How can you not do it? Especially at the end of a season, like the last split. Short contract probably.
But how long till he can play? Things change.
Winter, right?
This exact thing was one thing that I was like,
end of winter. Sorry, like after winter.
Okay, end of winter. Gotcha.
This is one thing that I was like thinking about when Evo signed with XSET at the end of last season. I was so confused why he didn't just wait until off season and play his cards and see what happens.
He probably wanted to prove himself though, right? He wanted to show.
Well, he couldn't play.
What I could do. Oh, you mean he signed before? Wait, could he just not play at all?
Evo wasn't able to play.
He wasn't eligible until the final regional of the third split, and he signed for the whole spring.
But he played one regional.
No,
he actually didn't even play it.
He didn't even play it.
He didn't even play it.
Yeah, I was surprised he signed that as well. But I don't know, like Zen, like even if you take the Vitality offer, I feel like Zen is one of those talents where like they will build around you, and you will have like everything given to you, as well as like if you do want to leave the team, you will get the highest offer from all these orgs. So like he's in a position where like he's there.
Lose.
He's that guy. Yeah, exactly. Whereas like
Vitality's
Evo,
that org as well. Like
Evo, I'm not sure it's the same thing.
No, Evo's definitely not. But I just didn't understand why he signed when he like and John saying like they would have to forfeit their points too, XSET, which I guess is not a big deal. They're not making anything out of it in the final split. But I was just so confused why he locked into something, which is similar to what you guys are saying.
Well,
like,
was it a long contract? He might have just signed for a split though. Like maybe he just signed for one split. Maybe he thought he's playing regional 3, and he's like, I'll sign for a split, play regional 3, get paid a little bit of money, and then have a different option. I don't know if he's locked it. If he signed like for a whole year, that's probably a mistake.
He didn't seem locked in. I talked to him about it when it happened, and he's not a super talkative kid anyway, so I didn't get a ton out of him, but it did sound like he wasn't like locked in. But now that he's playing with XSET and he's playing with Rapid, I mean, I don't really know. I didn't get much from him either way, but I'm not sure what they paid him either. Like what I was worried is like this kid, it was insane from my perspective, and I just wanted to be sure that he was like the right thing was happening for him. And I'm not saying Exo didn't, hook him up as some great prodigy. Maybe they did, and by any means, he definitely should sign like some kind of insane offer. But I did think, I agree with Hoodie. I thought it was early for Evo to lock into something like that. But Zen is, I get what you're saying. Zen's different. He's just
Zen is different.
Guy.
Agreed.
Yeah, shout out to CJ for the Prime sub, but also Turbo did confirm that Evo has secured the bag.
Okay. If that's the case, then
hey, if he secures the bag, you know what I'm saying? Evo got the bag.
That's right.
I just knew the ads were coming up, so I want to still be able to watch the stream.
Yeah, ads in 37 seconds, by the way. Be ready, chat.
Oh, rough.
I'm actually not even sure. Do we have much else?
Well,
We could
we've
just
covered
wrap it
all
pre-ads.
the teams, I think. We've covered everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was we
did it.
That was a banger.
We did do it. Any closing thoughts, I guess, before these ads roll through?
You got 5 seconds.
Yeah. Drop the big leak right when the ads hit.
That was fun. That was clean. That was a good episode.
Franchising L.
Yeah, I really liked CJ's sub was the highlight for me.
Franchising L, we're all moving to APAC, and Evo secured a bag.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
There we go.
All right. Well, that's one way to wrap it up, chat. Thank you, everybody. Well, thank you to our guests for joining us. Shout out to them and chat.
Oh, and
thank
Nina
you.
are going to dominate.
Yeah, that too. Always. I mean, they're the major region. They are the region. But yeah, chat, thank you for joining the stream. Thank you for chilling. Thank you for watching Chalkcast. If you guys don't know, Chalkcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can check it out there for the audio version. But I do also upload it on my second channel, so if you did miss any of it, there will be a link on Twitter in about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But we'll see. Catch you guys later. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.